Yes, 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 y'all. Uh, Another Saturday night. Therefore, another Saturday night shoot the breeze. Do me a favor if you can hear my voice. I see Anthony in the chat already, bigging up everyone from KWAZ Radio, from hosts to people who are on these platforms participating in the conversations. Appreciate that, Anthony. He said it'll be on later. Anthony, if you can hear my voice, or anyone who can hear my voice, so that please hit the one button for me. That'll let me know that I'm in fact being transmitted on the digital airwaves called YouTube. With all of that said, let me give you guys what we have in store for tonight's conversations. We're going to talk about, we'll try to answer the question, is he speaking facts in reference to what America really is? And it's going to be interesting to see who's talking about. We're going to try to answer the question, is Robin Walker accurate? Robin Walker, the esteemed historian, I would say, did an interview, caught my eye, and he talked about some things about FBA and immigrants, and is he accurate or not? We're going to try to understand from each and every one of you, did your parents warn you about marrying outside your race? We're going to try to answer the question, can we ever stop blaming black men? And lastly, we're going to try to answer if black steel was right or wrong. Is FBA becoming mainstream? So all of those topics are intended for tonight. I see I got some ones from Trigger Happy. Shout out to Trigger Happy. I see Black Steel out there as well. Shout out to all of you. What we're going to do now is start the show officially. And on the other side, we'll post Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all of our panelists. So as I always say, please stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to Saturday Night Shoot the Breeze. Every Saturday, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. or so. Usually these days, usually hosted by me, but sometimes Jacadero might be the host these days. So make sure you guys tune in. Make sure to subscribe to all the other shows, including Brother Bakari, BBN Network, Kofi the Black Critic, Forecast Radio, and Consider Cheek. With that said, let me introduce my panelists tonight so far. Let me just shout out real quick War Drum, who says greetings in the chat. OG Mark 99, haven't seen you in a minute. He hit 1. I guess he might be on a little bit of a delay because Trigger Happy them said 1 earlier. Before further ado, let me introduce my panelists. First will be Black Steel. Black Steel, how are you this week?
I'm doing good, Coco. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, man. Thanks for coming through.
Thanks, man.
No problems. Next, we have Buana. So far, Buana, how are you this week?
I'm good, Koku. Koku, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm good, brother. Black Steel, how are you, brother? I hope you're good.
I am good. How about you, Buana?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
That's what's up.
Cool. Forecast Radio in the chat say what's up. I'll say what's up to OG Mark, War Drum, Forecast, Trigger Happy, and Anthony McPhail in the chat. Without further ado, let's hit it. Shoot the breeze topic number 1 is he speaking facts. This is in reference to what is America really? This comes with a link. Let me share my screen. I think it's this one. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. I think it's this one. Yeah. So you guys can see my screen. Let me make sure you can see it well. Okay. So this is the attachment to Shooter Restart number 1. Is he speaking facts in reference to what America is really? We'll watch this video once or twice and then we'll discuss it.
It's branding. It's a cover-up. It's a sales pitch in red, white, and blood. I didn't risk my life for a piece of cloth. I risked it because I was sold a lie. I was told I was protecting freedom, that I was fighting terrorism. But the truth is, we are the terror. This nation was built on genocide and slavery, and that's not some radical opinion. That is historical. We wiped out over 90% of the indigenous people's population and trafficked over 12 million Africans into bondage. And when slavery supposedly ended, we just renamed it. Prison labor, chain gangs, redlining, mass incarceration. Our prisons are full of poor folks, especially black and brown, and they're working for pennies an hour, if anything, and they're making products that you buy at Walmart. More people behind bars than any country on earth, yet we call ourselves the land of the free. Y'all realize the military hasn't been drafted since 1973? Think about that for a moment. You don't have to join, but the system makes sure you want to join. Free college, healthcare, a stable paycheck, and not out of generosity, out of desperation. The Pentagon preys on poor and desperate kids. You want to eat? Sign here. You want to live? Sign here. We ain't defending democracy overseas. We're securing contracts. We're guarding pipelines. We're overthrowing governments that say no thanks to American capitalism. On average is 3,000 to 20,000 bombs dropped around the world in any given year. That ain't humanitarian effort. That is empire. Don't owe that flag her loyalty or her silence. She's got more guts than half the grown-ups I know sitting down while they stand up blind. Smedley Butler said he was a racketeer and a gangster for capitalism. You want real patriotism? Tell the truth. Teach the truth. Stop punishing kids for seeing what adults are too scared to say. This ain't about disrespect. This is about finally having the guts to face the truth that maybe this flag isn't what they told us it was. You know what really burns me? I spent my childhood saying those words with my hand to my heart, with liberty and justice for all, like a damn prayer, every morning like clockwork. I did it because I was told it was right. I served 10 years for this country. I bled for this country. I buried friends for this country. And now my daughter's catching heat for not pledging to that same flag. Let me tell you something. That flag That flag ain't freedom. That flag is branding. It's a cover-up. It's a sales pitch in red, white, and blood. I didn't risk my life for a piece of cloth. I risked it because I was sold a lie. I was told I was protecting freedom, that I was fighting terrorism. But the truth is, we are the terror. This nation was built on genocide and slavery, and that's not some radical opinion. That is historical fact. We wiped out over 90% of the indigenous people's population and trafficked over 12 million Africans into bondage. And when slavery supposedly ended, we just renamed it. Prison labor, chain gangs, redlining, mass incarceration. Our prisons are full of poor folks, especially black and brown, and they're working for pennies an hour, if anything, and they're making products that you buy at Walmart. More people behind bars than any country on earth, yet we call ourselves the land of the free. Y'all realize the military hasn't been drafted since 1973? Think about that for a moment. You don't have to join, but the system makes sure you want to join. Free college, health care, a stable paycheck, and not out of generosity, out of desperation. The Pentagon preys on poor and desperate kids. You want to eat? Sign here. You want to live? Sign here. We ain't defending democracy overseas. We're securing contracts. We're guarding pipelines. We're overthrowing governments that say no thanks to American capitalism. On averages, 3,000 to 20,000 bombs dropped around the world in any given year. That ain't humanitarian effort. That is empire. Don't owe that flag her loyalty or her silence. She's got more guts than half the grown-ups I know sitting down while they stand up blind. Smedley Butler said he was a racketeer and a gangster for capitalism. You want real patriotism? Tell the truth. Teach the truth. Stop punishing kids for seeing what adults are too scared to say. This ain't about disrespect. This is about finally having the guts to face the truth that maybe this flag isn't what they told us it was. You know what really burns me?
So at first, it only played a portion of the video, but I wanted to make sure everyone could get the full grasp. So I played the whole thing a second time. I'm going to shout out Daily Affirmations by Pauline says, good evening. Good evening to you, my dear. Anthony McPhail's in the chat. He says, America is a European settler state, just like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Rhodesia. Goodbye Triggers is in the chat. Shout out to her. She says, greetings to Koku and the panel. I have been listening to the replays as I have been engaged the past Saturdays, listening in for a bit. I appreciate your ears and yourself tuning in to the frequencies that we're putting out. I do appreciate you being a regular. War Drum says in the chat that propaganda is real. Hulk Hogan's original music. Check that out. Forecast said he must have just took a rocket science class or something. Earlier, War Drum said this guy in the video was talking facts. With that said, let me throw it to my panelists. Let me first introduce the latest panelist to join tonight. That'll be our boy Jackadero. Jackadero, how are you this week?
What's going on, Koku, man? I'm in a good mood. What's up? What's up?
Good, good. I'm glad you're in a good mood, brother. Thanks for coming through as well. With that said, let me start with Black Steel on this one. Black Steel, is he speaking facts in reference to what America really is?
I mean, he didn't tell a single lie, you know. I'm glad he came to that conclusion. Apparently, dude's a veteran, and apparently his daughter got in trouble for not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is a protected right. For some reason, people want to make it legal where you have to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is a ridiculous statement. But no, he doesn't. I mean, everything he said was accurate. Nothing he said was inaccurate. It just takes white people a little bit of time to get to the conclusion. You know, they always figure it out after the fact. I believe it was the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill said that we can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. So I think that yeah, he's right. Everything he's saying is accurate. Um, I think he has a certain level of understanding, seeing as how he's a veteran. You know, he's been overseas, he's engaged in the colonial wars. And he was saying we're not he noted we're not defending democracy. It's just resource extraction. It's about containing the global south. It's about putting down real democracy. He also talked about the poverty draft. You know, young people who are impoverished, who might not have access to certain things, housing, schooling. You know, you can join the military, get a GI Bill. You know, you get to travel the world, get a pension. So there's incentives to joining that, but they don't tell you the dark side of it. They don't tell you the negative. They don't tell you that 20 veterans commit suicide every day. They don't tell you the fact that um, people who serve the military are overrepresented when it comes to homelessness, to suicide, to alcoholism and drug addiction. So when you combine all these factors, yeah, everything he said was true. A couple of things I would say his math's a little off as far as where he talked about the numbers of people killed. So you mentioned most of the Americans died. Most the original thing that killed the Native Americans was disease, right? So, but they got disease from white people. But the idea that white people killed most of Native Americans is false. Most of Native Americans died through contact with diseases which they had no immunity to. That's one thing. And two, the numbers you said about 12 million Africans, that's for the entire um, transatlantic slave trade. So in reality, most of those Africans who were trafficked um, didn't come to America. They came to the Caribbean and South America. But that's just me nitpicking. But yeah, he's telling the truth. I'm glad he finally realized that what he does is information. I don't know. Um, Also, too, other thing he mentioned about joining the military. The U.S. military is a hotbed for white supremacist organizations, right? Many, many skinheads, neo-Nazis join the military with the intention of getting military training. One, to kill people who they consider to be inferior, and two, to when they get out of the military, they come back and train their fellow white supremacist comrades. He left that part out too. So I'll go ahead. Thank you, Koku, for the opportunity to speak. I'll let the other panelists have it.
No problem. Trick Happy 262 Plus in the chat says some of them know but do not care when joining the military, which needs to be emphasized as well. So that's something he said when Black Steel was making his presentation. Real Black Gentleman's in the chat. Said graces to the fam. Anthony is in the chat. He says white people know exactly what America is. They didn't just figure it out. They knew from day one. Lastly, Trigger Happy 262 Plus says the Europeans have to wage war in order for Native Americans to get contact or diseases. Frontier wars upon frontier wars. So I guess he's adding a note, pinning a note to what Black Steel said about the diseases.
Actually,
even that
to that point, the diseases would travel ahead of the Europeans. So, for example, Hernando de Soto, the Spanish explorer who landed in Tampa Bay in the 16th century, he was the first European to see the Mississippi River. So, for those who don't know, the Mississippi River, much like the Nile River, what was the Euphrates River, that was like a place of civilization. Many Native Americans lived alongside the river. But what happened is that when DeSoto came, he brought smallpox, right? But the smallpox disease would travel ahead of his army because Native Americans would get sick, they'd pass it along, pass it along, pass it along. So as DeSoto's exploring around the southeast, he's finding whole villages empty, depopulated, dead and dying people. So even when they didn't fight, they would just be around, just in the vicinity, passing diseases. It actually spread ahead of their advance because they had no immunity to the disease. So by the time the Native Americans tried to put back into a resistance, their numbers were so depleted. That's what got them able to conquer them. I doubt that they would have been successful if they hadn't had the advantage of disease.
Cold game. With that said, let me go to Jackadero. Jackadero, what say you to this? Is he speaking facts?
Yeah, I heard the rant that this gentleman was, if I can call him a gentleman, was speaking, and Black Steel pointed out something that I didn't know, some background information that maybe what inspired him to go on the rant was his daughter getting punished for not standing up for the flag. Speaking of the flag, did anybody notice that the flag behind him in the video is upside down? And was that on purpose? Like, is he that upset?
I peeped that, and I assumed in my head he did that intentionally as a disrespect.
When the flag is upside down, it's meant to show distress. Like if you see a flag, if you're on a ship, you see a ship in the ocean, it's flying upside down, that means that ship is in danger.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I did not know this. Yeah, it just he's having his take on it, but the large white American community, I'm assuming, would label him as a leftist with this take, because this is, this doesn't represent a conservative take. Why I say that is because, in American politics, to be left or to be left leaning is to be un-American. The right prides itself, at least on the outside looking in, on being the party of America, being pro-patriotic and blah, 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 blah. So, is he valid in his points? Yeah, sure, he's valid. But also, it just sounds like if somebody else were to watch this, another white American, they'd be like, well, with that, you're still, it looks like you're still enjoying all the freedoms and the benefits of everything that people before you got. All the things that would happen to the Native Americans will look at you. You don't have any neighbors. He looks like he lives in a townhouse or some sort of establishment like that. I'm assuming that he probably doesn't have any Native American neighbors. Me, myself, I barely saw Native Americans, and I live here and grew up here in the Midwest, barely. So it's like, hey, was it for a greater good for Wazungu? It looks like it did. So if I was a white American, I'd be like, what the hell are you complaining about? Like, you got to join the military. You got to have those benefits. Now, did those benefits live up to everything that you wanted? Maybe not. But nonetheless, it's like, you're talking to us on the internet. So it's like, what are you complaining about? If I was a white American watching this, I'd be pretty upset. I'd be like, what are you doing? Black Steel points out something that, veterans, they often make up a large amount of, or a significant amount of, the homeless population in the United States. I would love to see those numbers in every single country, because I would assume that that's probably how it is. Fun fact, since we are Pan-African nationalists, for those that don't know, in Eritrea, they have mandatory selective service. So it's not a selective service, it's like an elective service. It's like you have to. But nonetheless, is that with Eritrea's situation is that oftentimes I think it's like I don't know. I wish I could, if I felt compelled, I'd look it up on how many months or years that both the male and the female Eritrean citizen has to serve in the military. But there's so many cases of it being reported where people serve pretty much for the rest of their life after they turn 18, the rest of their life. And it's all because of, your commanding supervisor that says you're free to leave or not. And I say that to say, like, yeah, at least with the United States military, again, I'm speaking objectively here. I'm not in support of the United States. Please don't get me wrong. But speaking objectively, at least with the United States, you know, it's what, 2 terms and then 2 tours. And then it's up to you. You know, you don't necessarily have to be in the military for the rest of your life. So as much as the reports about homelessness among veterans are, isn't it a common narrative with at least in the Black American community that that once people get in the military, they either choose a Camaro or a Challenger? So it's like, I don't know, you know, does it, like, this financial literacy, do we have to have a conversation about financial literacy? Because I see more than enough military vets enjoying themselves. So it's like, well, what was that person doing with their money that this next person wasn't doing? So it's just like, yeah, is he speaking facts? Sure. What is America really? Everybody knows what America is. But I think to like look at America, again, if you're a white American, and looking at America and saying like, oh, it's this big monster that the rest of us know. Again, everybody knows is to be a hard-leaning leftist, but the rest of the population, again, and again, I think the majority of America votes right. Majority of the right would watch this video and say, what are you complaining about? What are you complaining about? You would just be in Europe eating what is it? I think Keith Lee went to Europe and he ate beans over toast. You'd still be eating beans over toast, you know, stuff that. Anyways, I'm just ranting here now. Is he speaking facts? Sure. What is America really? Everybody knows the answer to this. They're an imperialist nation, but it's like, what are you doing, man?
And I appreciate that, Jack and Darryl. You gotta go a good distance and to very specific places to find a pure-blooded, long lineage Native American. That's how defeated these folks are in their own land. You gotta go to like very specific places to find a group of them. So when I hear, just side note, I'm going to talk about them tonight too. When I hear FBAs and stuff talking about being or pretending and talking about being a Native American man, you guys are emulating some of the most destroyed people on. But I digress. War drumming. Actually, Trigger Happy in the chat say yes, Europeans genocided natives. It wasn't a mistake. There's like a narrative they would love too. I can't get mad at that, Trigger Happy. War Drum says the natives had no immunity and they knew it. We're 300,000 years old and it wouldn't work on us. This is also why we were chosen to make the journey across the Atlantic. War Drum finishes off by saying, we're battle tested and proven. RFK said it out loud that our immune system is different. Yeah, I did hear RFK allude to that in a talk he was having. With that said, Buana, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you, Dollar?
Yeah, for me, Koku, I don't particularly think in some of the things he expressed. I don't think that America is an empire, not in the formal sense. No, coming from a place which was actually a part of an empire. I wouldn't call America, well, if it is an empire, it's an empire informally. But if it is an empire, it's the shortest empire that's lasted because America really only gained its strength after the Second World War, you know, and many people, I guess, started using the American dollar, which really gives America global importance, you know. That's a recent kind of thing because many people wasn't trading off of the US dollar. So if I was to say that they had an empire, like Rome had a 2,000-year empire. That's a real empire. The British had a 400-year empire. You know, the Mongolians had an empire that lasted 150 years. And then you have Egypt would have had empires that lasted thousands of years and things of that nature in the formal sense. So I wouldn't necessarily consider America an empire. I would consider them to be an absolute superpower with absolute influence in the world. But to, in the formal sense, call them an empire, I wouldn't consider that to be that. But he have his opinions. For me personally, America, as an immigrant person, I look at America as an ATM machine. America is different things to different kinds of people. You know what I mean? So I think that for the people who, if you want to look at America on a historic basis, that claim could be made for many other empires that existed in the world, where they pillage, murder, maim, and enslave. That's how so-called empires or informal empires are created. So I don't expect that to be nothing different from what other empires used to be. But America has not necessarily declared themselves like a Britain, you know, or like all these other so-called empires. Unfortunately, these things happen. People, you know, get mistreated when you have so-called empires that exist. But for me, you know, which is different from this particular gentleman, America as a business and to be treated as a, that's all. Nothing more, nothing less. You know.
All right.
So Buana,
Interesting.
I would say though, Buana. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you out, Koku.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
America has many overseas territories, Puerto Rico being the most populous, but you also have the U.S. Virgin Islands, you have American Samoa, you have Guam, you have, many, United States, many overseas territories, right? Many of these territories were obtained from Spain at the end of the Spanish-American War, but also too, um, they've governed these territories as an imperial nation. The Philippines used to belong to the United States. Hawaii was an independent nation until the Americans deposed their queen and took it over. So, beyond just going in and taking somebody else's land, which is just straight up imperial, right? The 800 military bases that are scattered across the world allows the United States to project force anywhere. And they have their enemies surrounded. They have China surrounded with military bases. They have Russia surrounded with military bases. They have military bases on every continent, including Antarctica. So you have it. So basically, by that very definition, the United States is an empire. The fact that countries are forced to buy oil in US dollars, which requires them to keep a reserve of US currency, the petrodollar, right? This is a way America can project power. So even though the length of time is not as long as the British or the Egyptians or the Syrians, whoever the fuck, right? It still functions as an imperial nation.
Okay. So my answer to that is, the head of state for Samoa is, I don't know who the head of state is. I don't know who the head of state is for that territory. Okay. I do know that Hawaii was taken over by the American colony, by the white Americans. I also do know that the white Americans was influential in Liberia. You know, in fact, one of the places, the main city is called Monroeville. So they don't pledge allegiance. I don't know if they even have a president. And if they have a president within that territory, I don't know if they pledge allegiance to an American president as opposed to a president that exists within that country. Hawaii does. Hawaii, the head of state for Hawaii, which was used to be an original territory, is the president of the United States. That wasn't always the case. As far as what you say in terms of force, America used to be the superpower in the world that could make that claim, enforcing territories and influencing territories to do specific things. You are absolutely right about that. But now the game is 9 other countries have the nuclear capabilities of creating massive harm to America, just as America could create massive harm to them. See, the thing is, if you have the big stick, right, you could always tell me what to do and influence me in terms of anything that I can and cannot do. This is what was distinctive about empire. Now, if I have the big stick and you have the big stick, you can't tell me so much and influence me so much. You can make claims. You could say we the best of the best and all these other things. But if I have the big stick and you have the big stick, that means we in a fight. And the reality is, in today's society, in so-called the next world, so-called world war, the next world war, if I have nuclear armaments and you have 1,000 nuclear armaments, I only need 5 to completely restructure and change your society as you know it. And 9 countries have the ability to do so besides the United States of America. So you could say you imposing power in the world, but if, like I say, if I have the big stick and you have the big stick, you won't so much have the influence. This is why China is in Africa. This is why Russia's in Africa. This is why African presidents right now are saying, well, we don't need your money. We don't need your influence. Get out of here. And they can do that because they understand there's other forces that exist in the world. That's comparative. That's comparative. So what do you do in that scenario? You can't make these claims to empire when my stick is just as big as yours. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, we're definitely moving towards a multipolar world. I think that just because you have one empire don't mean you can't have two. You know, the Athenians beef with the Spartans. You know, the Romans had beef with the Persians. So that's one thing. So I do see what you're saying, but I think that the idea that we live in a multipolar world is what the U.S. really wants to avoid. They want the United States to be the world's only global superpower, which is why you're going to see they're getting ready to pivot to China now. I believe the Pentagon, or they did announce they want to be at war with China by the year 2030. They're already doing a series of war games near Australia right now. They're getting ready to begin to, create consent. The idea is to go after China, go after Russia, anybody who's a member of the what they call the axis of resistance: Iran, Russia, China. They tested Iran. They realized they weren't ready for Iran just yet. So I don't know what they're doing, but I definitely could see the desire to remain the world's global superpower. And then I hear what you're saying, having the big stick, but the problem is that you're speaking as a reasonable individual, Juana, which I think you're a reasonable person. Nobody wants to see the world engulfed in nuclear hellfire. However, the United States is governed by psychopaths. So this is why I'm always really concerned, because a reasonable person wouldn't want to live in a nuclear hellscape. But the United States wouldn't mind obliterating most of the world if they think they could survive unscathed. Well, we'll just build our fortress on some mountain in Montana. We'll be okay. It's a scary thing to think about it. This is an empire that's governed by probably the most psychopathic group of individuals ever to exist on this planet. So that's just something that keeps me awake at night.
Black Steel. You are right in what you're saying, right? But there's a reason why this president, as crazy and psychopathic as he is, has not decided to invade North Korea. You know why? Because the North Korean prime minister, president, or whatever you want to call him, he doesn't think he's a human being. He literally thinks he is God on earth. So that kind of psychopathy could be matched by another kind of psychopathy. What do you do in that instance? And he have nuclear capabilities too. This is the reason why they don't mess with certain people. We gotta be good friends because
North Korea is not a threat to the United States, though.
Let's all live in it.
North Korea doesn't have the capability to hit the United States, but they do have the capability to fuck up Japan. Japan is really in the crosshairs. North Korea, people don't realize that during the Korean War, almost 20% of the population was killed in the U.S. bombing raid. So I think it's understandable that, yeah, they don't want to invade North Korea, but North Korea is not really a threat to us. It's mostly Japan they got to worry about. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, Buana. No, but America is there's more than one crazy person with their finger on the button in the world. Absolutely.
To Buana, like, why doesn't the U.S. want to militarily go at it with North Korea? I am not a political genius at all, but one thing I do know is that war is costly. Even just land war, because what atomic or nukes, right, is an aviation war, aerial war, but just even on the ground, just having, like, for instance, this war of Israel and Hamas, it's going to cost them something. I don't know if it's going to put a dent in their budget, but it is going to cost them something because they've been fighting for this long, and they still, like Netanyahu wants, they still haven't. What did he say? He wants to destroy all of Hamas. It's going to take some time if it does in fact happen. But and then you talk about an atomic war, atomic bombs. I'm assuming that they're not cheap. That's one, and then two. I believe that before the U.S. dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like, there's almost a message that is sent out to communicate to people to say, hey, you have this many days and or hours to vacate, because we're only trying to, again, this is not to try to paint the U.S. as some, like the U.S. is angels. No. I'm just saying that in the rules of war, according to the Geneva Convention, you gotta only target the people that are for game, and that's usually just soldiers. So you got to send out a message before weapons of that caliber are dropped. So it's costly. It's costly in the financial sense, and then it's costly just because North Korea, I believe, is on the Korean peninsula. So it's like, where do they go? Do they go to Russia? Do they go to South Korea? But yeah, just to add what you're saying, Buana, is like, war is just costly. Most people are trying to do their best as leaders of a nation to try to save money instead of recklessly spending it with a war. That's particularly why Trump did his best to save the Iran. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. An Israel situation, is because the U.S. would have been dragged into it, and thus another costly conflict that most Americans were opposed of in the first place. But I might be wrong. I welcome you to join in, Buana.
Bakari says peace and Black African power. Real Black Gentleman said that the gentleman in the video ain't really saying anything profound, but I appreciate his candor. He says not all folks are on the same type of time in any case. Shout out to Real Black Gentleman RBG. Trigger says, drones will be big in the next big war. Nuclear armaments are mostly a stick measuring contest and used to stick fear of a response. Plus, Europeans aren't bombing some of these lucrative places. So there's that. Shout out to Brother Bakari. Trigabi said, North Korea is covertly aligned and protected by China, even if it's reported that they have shaky relations. Lastly, Brother Bakari says, on Korea, crazy president said he has a nuclear bomb that will take Cali off of the map. With that said, does anyone on the panel have any last thoughts, any last comments, or something another panelist would have said? I think Buana was being encouraged to respond to what Jacadero just said, but maybe Buana has no comment. If not, we'll go to the next.
No, Coco, the only thing I would say is there is a book by this lady named called Ann Jacobson. The book is called Nuclear War, where she goes on to describe the nuclear capabilities of the United States and other countries in the world, and what would happen if a president was to decide to press that button. What is she goes into all the protocols of what would eventually happen. She said it would take 72 minutes to completely change the world
Juan, I think you cut out. You guys can't hear Juan, all right?
No, I can't hear him.
Well,
Negative.
I was just about to ask if you guys could hear me. Juan, go out and come back in. If you can hear my voice, go out and come back in. For some reason, your audio dropped and it's not playing. Let's give Juan time to get the help he needs. He says to go ahead. Okay, so I guess his sound is giving him some problems. So we'll just go ahead if there's no last thoughts on that last prompt. Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, is Robin Walker accurate? I found this interesting this week. So let's go to this tweet here from Kelly. Hold on a second. Looks like my screen share has stopped. So let's do that again. Okay, something didn't work. One more time. So here's this tweet from Kelly. You guys should be able to see my screen now. Post from Kelly says, all aboard the Coon train is leaving the station. So this is Robin Walker, who in the video they say checks African on disrespect towards FBA Black Americans. Watch until the end. He drops truth bombs. All right. And he talks about what the FBI agenda is. So this is a 5-minute video. We'll sit back and watch it, take it in, and then we'll have a discussion. Make sure you guys in the chat post your comments.
What's your views on Tarek Nasheed? Because he's got this thing called Foundational Black American.
Yeah.
What is that about? Because I feel like that's pure division. If I'm not,
it is. But I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. This is what it is. There were too many black people from outside Africa, from outside America, going to America and playing the ass. And what it is African Americans spotted this and spotted that there's a consistent pattern. Black Caribbeans, black people from Africa going to America and being the ass. And what the FBA agenda is putting up a wall and saying, no, you guys can't be a part of this if you're going to be on that, raccoon train.
When you say playing the ass, what? Because from what I know, a lot of Africans, a lot of Caribbeans who go there, academically, they're surpassing them. And also business-wise, they're surpassing them. So who was playing the ass?
When they then use that to say, well, that means that you African Americans are lazy. Do you see?
Yes.
And then being on some right-wing conservatism, let's throw African Americans under the bus.
That is true.
Let's pretend that Jim Crow didn't happen, redlining didn't happen, breaking up of African American business districts, breaking up of African American families. The COINTELPRO didn't happen. The Iran Contras and then moving drugs into the black community didn't happen. Yeah. And there's a whole list of things continuing right up until now that the American government has done to African Americans. And so for those black people recently arrived from outside America, you all didn't face any of that. So of course you're going to be doing better than African Americans.
Yeah. But not all of them can be affected by this. There's always got to be certain people who rise above it, regardless of what the situation is. It's just the natural nature of thing. Weeds grow through gardens, you name it. Why do you think it is that a country like Jamaica or Africa, where they too have had their deprivations, had their colonialism, had their slavery, why do they go somewhere and tend to excel amongst people who also have gone through it?
Because you're not comparing like with like, that's why.
Okay.
A lot of us think we are comparing like with like. You're not. Let me explain. Generally speaking, Caribbeans in America, not the ones in the Caribbean, but the ones in America, will represent the top 10%.
I see.
So if you're really going to compare like with like, you have to compare the top 10% of Caribbeans with the top 10% of African Americans.
Okay.
And when you compare the two, the African Americans are slaughtering us, bro. It's not even close. It's a massacre. But what it is we compare the top 10% with your average African American. You're not comparing like with like. And if you compare your average African American, you're 51, you got 1 to 100 and Mr. number 51. Number 51 is richer by a factor of 20 than your average Jamaican. Do you see? So what happens is it's a perception thing. Now, let's be clear. We can all point to people from outside America. Go to America and rise. Yeah. Colin Powell did that. Kamala Davy Harris has done that, whatever. But you can't pretend that's typical. Do you see?
Yeah.
But what happens is because we live in a world where people don't really have full pictures, you can take the exception, use that to smack around African Americans' faces. This guy just got off the boat. He's doing better than you. Not realizing, but for my man to have got on the boat in the first place, he wasn't typical of the country that he was coming from. He was in the top echelons of that country. Do you see?
Yeah.
And the same is true also with people from Africa going to Black America. So if we're going to compare the top 10%, let's compare the top 10%. And when we do that, African Americans are slaughtering us. There are
interesting conversation from the brother, Dr. Robin Walker. I didn't know he was of, sounds like he's either Trinidadian background or Grenadian background. I didn't know he was that. Pleasantly surprised by that. I just thought he was a Black Brit. But I should have known better. But it's interesting, his argument in the chat. Juana said something that struck me. He said, this argument goes back to my plantation is better than yours argument, and that it's tiring. I think there's some things that the good doctor is a little bit inaccurate about, and maybe is that he's using dated information. He's an older gentleman, and certain things he is saying I think was true at a time, perhaps. But even that, I'm not sure. I was thinking about my own family, but we'll talk about that in a second. With that said, let me mix it up this time. Let me start with Juan on this one. Juan, what say you to what Dr. Robin Walker is saying? Is he accurate?
Coco, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think the issue is Dr. Walker suffers from the same thing that Dr. Small suffered from. The persons who come into him with this, he is too further removed, too far away from the problem to actually understand what is happening. So he only listens to a very few individuals who is defining the issue in a certain kind of way. It's the same thing what happened to Professor James Smalls. When Professor James Smalls started to understand what these groups are actually all about, he said that they were crazy. This is what he said. And if Dr. Walker, because Dr. Walker still is in the United Kingdom, so he is hearing general statements and he's making generalized statements without evidence. When he talks about 10%, where does he get that number from? He is a doctor. He have to back up what he says with evidence. Top 10% of what? To do what? He's too far removed from the problem, and I think that he needs to focus on what he actually does for a living in terms of writing books to better inform people and doing things like that. That is his lane. That is his lane. He's an older statesman, and he needs to remain an older statesman. When you start assigning yourself. See, I know Dr. Walker was in one of Tariq Nasheed videos, Hidden Colors. So he have a liking fondness of Tariq Nasheed because Tariq Nasheed presented him with a particular face at the time. At the time, he didn't know that Mr. Nasheed was gaslighting him. He didn't know that, and he didn't know what the intentions of Tariq Nasheed is now. So he feel like he's being loyal to his statements. Though some of his statements may be truthful, you have to back up some of the things that you claims that you make with evidence. With evidence, not statements like, well, this happened to me in particular. Back up your statements with surveys, with studies, with people who look at the problem in a scientific way and came up with these kinds of bland, outlandish statements. Or these people feel this way about me. Which people? Which people from the Caribbean? Which people from Nigeria? Which Africans? What are you talking about specifically? Give me some data on it. This is how doctors speak. This is how, when you're having these kinds of conversations, when you're labeling people, you have to have what you have to say backed up by evidence. Whose 10% are you talking about? So, like I say, these kinds of issues, I think that the doctor should become a doctor and leave the internet scholarship to the internet scholars, because they have their version. And because if you have to be very careful, because he's gonna lose face or his credibility assigning himself to either side of the argument without practical information and evidence. And that 40 or 30 or whatever years of work that he's been in the field of practicing what he's been practicing and representing himself in a particular way, all that could be lost by you choosing sides where you're so far away from the problem. Oh, I like this individual, so let me create arguments to him. You got to be very careful with these kinds of things. Be a doctor, stay in your lane. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Even like I say, I could dispute with him all day because you never had an immigrant side of the conversation. You never had an African talking. You never had a Caribbean person talking. You just have one perspective talking. There is a reason for that. There is a reason for that. So I don't get into these back and forths. I try to listen to credible people, giving me credible pieces of information, people who have studied and could show me credible evidences of what they speak of to be true or not true. You can't label groups of people without evidence or proving why you're labeling groups of people that way. But that's just my particular opinion on it. I'll leave it there, Coco, for the other brothers to go.
One might be cooking on something there. Let's see if others are picking up on the aroma. Let me hear from Black Steel on this one. Black Steel, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts about it is this, right? First of all, Robin Walker, he touches on a grain of truth, right? I don't agree with FBA at all. I think it's a nonsense. I think it's divisive. However, I will say this too. Some immigrant groups like to compare, right? And I think what he was saying is that you shouldn't compare. You're comparing apples to oranges. But I do think there is an element sometimes, because I have heard it myself, that what have you people been doing all this time, right? Because many times people come from other countries, they are not aware of the history of America, not aware of the issues. And it was a young Jamaican lady. She said that when we come to America, we're all about business. And it seems like you guys are complaining, talking to about Black Americans, you're complaining all the time, right? As if Black people were enslaved, and then we got out of slavery, and then we just sat around and didn't do anything, right? But to me, that speaks to an ignorance of the historical conditions of African Americans in this country, and how African Americans were, when they would, create businesses and communities, we would be placed under attack, right? So that's something that has to be said. Also, too, I think that a very interesting point. In order to be American is to be anti-black, right? America, it sends out its media through propaganda, through television and movies and music, and many times the image of African Americans is a very negative image, right? Because they're usually shown in television as gangsters, thugs, drug dealers, so on and so forth. So what happens is that people have this image of us, and they're told, hey, we're coming to this country, you stay away from those people. Those people are bad. Because look what they're doing. Their parents are hanging around their ankles. They have kids they don't take care of, so on and so forth. So the images of African Americans are very, very negative, right? We don't control our image. We don't. I know we want to think we do, but we don't, right? So when a black person coming from the Caribbean or from Africa, Latin America, whatnot, they're told, don't deal with them black people because there's something wrong with them, right? Then they get here, right? And if they don't speak their native language, then they get treated the same as black people who've been here for the past 300-400 years. Now, and even then, sometimes they don't get treated any better. Now, there may be some situations where, oh, you don't know the laws here, we'll go a little easy on you. But then, that young man who got shot in the head by the cop in his own apartment, he was from the Caribbean. You had African immigrants who've been beaten and murdered and sodomized by the police, shot multiple times. So being from another country doesn't protect you, even if you're black, right? But again, the messaging is that, oh, look at these people, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and they're lazy, and this and this and that, and look at all the luxury goods they bought, and they're not using their money correctly, and they don't, it's a very conservative worldview. But then what happens is that these people live in America long enough to see, hey, wait a minute, this ain't easy, right? And you can be a doctor in Nigeria and you come to the United States and all you can do is drive a cab because they don't accept your degree. Right? That happens a lot. I knew somebody, now he was from Egypt. He was an accountant. He went to the University of Cairo. He was stacking boxes at Lowe's because his degree didn't mean anything. But he was cool though. He didn't have any type of inferior or feeling of superiority. But I think that what he's talking about, and again, it's not a lot. The majority of my interactions with black people from other countries has been very positive, right? But there's a small element, sometimes they tend to kind of be very conservative. They're unaware of the history. They're unaware of the circumstances and the conditions. And then they want to say, well, we're doing this. Why aren't you? So I think that's what he's talking about. But I think that just the idea that it's a lot or it's a majority, I don't think that's the case at all. I think the numbers have been very exaggerated. Most black people can connect and unite with other black people, no matter where in the world we come from. And I think that's that. Go ahead, Bwana.
Black Steel.
Yes.
Steel. As an adult person, you see, when you make a statement, you say that immigrants are told not to mess with a particular group of people, right? And it's almost as if the immigrant has no agency or no thought of his own to say, let me find out for myself. It's like, since the white man tells me it, I must completely believe everything he says. There's no idea of, well, let me find out for myself if these people are actually like that. And then in my interaction and experiences, I gonna draw my own conclusions and opinions. It's almost like the immigrant come here as an automaton, and you have to give him a brain and show him how to think for himself. When the reality is, if you come and traversing thousands of miles, you would have think that African or Caribbean person would have thought already. So he obviously thinking for himself prior to even meeting the white immigration officer who can say, oh, watch out for these black. He have his own thoughts, his own. It's like, When I hear the narrative weaved, it's like the immigrant has no thoughts of his own. He has no agency. Someone must tell him how to think. That in itself is an insult. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at this from an immigrant perspective, but I do know too that you are absolutely correct. There are some coons, there are some people who have a disparate view of African American for whatever reason. And the reality is, many of them are not from our own communities. They're coming from other communities as well. But we get the heat for everybody else. No problem. I'll take it. But all I'm saying is consider that some people black people coming from other countries, they have original thoughts of their own. No one could just pour into their brain and say, you should think this way, and we should just accept that and just, go on and function just like, because somebody else, come on, bro. It don't work that way, but that's just me.
Let me just add something real quick. I think that's the thing I was going to say about the video myself. I think both of you are correct. I think the problem is Walker's going off of old information. I damn near know that the generation or two of Caribbeans who would have come to America when information wasn't as widespread and so whatever someone told you might have been your understanding, especially in those days when immigrants would come and kind of huddle together. Then your education was what the group was on, what the older people in the group was on. And I think that's what Robin Walker is talking about. For instance, Robin Walker is talking about the 10%. What 10%? To echo Buana's thoughts, what 10% are you talking about? If the 10% of a country, top 10%, not just any 10%, if the top 10% in a country come out, leave that country, they're going to go to some higher education and they're going to go back. You know what I mean? For the most part, it's struggling blacks who come here, and we're not comparing our 10% to anyone else, or no one's comparing their whole population to 10%. Like Trigger Happy in the chat said, the immigrant population globally are always diverse. Some come in with wealth, some come in illegally, and some are refugees, right? That's the thing that Robert Walker doesn't include in his analysis. It's old information. If you told me there was a Caribbean person back in 1965 who was on some foolishness and talking some, I would bet money you tell the truth. A person who would have no knowledge of the people, the conditions, until having been here a while, and even after a while, if you were conditioned to see a people a certain way, they probably would have lived their whole lives and not seen it, and taught their children it. But I think in today's time, I think the young, and I personally give a lot of onus to hip hop, because I think hip hop was it was and is the music of a generation or two now. And definitely was the music of a generation before, and they taught their children, and the children are the ones who. And I think with hip hop, there really was no line of demarcation. In fact, most people just kind of assimilated to Black American culture, and they like Black Americans, generally speaking. And I think if you look at the U.S. and their propaganda machine and projecting Black folks out to the world, I think most people, and this is why I can't understand the FBA ADOS, I think most people, Black immigrants in their country, I think most Black youth in their country appreciate Black America and come to this country with appreciation. So I think what Robin is talking about is some 60-year-old data, if data at all. And I think he needs to update the software. But I just want to interject and say that. I think Black Seal wanted to say something. Black Seal, go ahead, and then
I'll rather make it real quick. First of all, I hate the term FBA, right? This is something that is manufactured. This is the most obvious COINTELPRO movement. Helen Keller, Stevie Wonder could see right through this stuff. It is ridiculous. It is so obvious to me that I get angry sometimes. Like, how dare you insult my intelligence, right? Most people coming to the United States, right? If you come from, especially from, if you're of African descent coming to the United States, within 1 or 2 generations, you're African American, right? They don't really make the distinction, right? I just the blindness, the stupidity coming out of this movement is so frustrating. And I think, like you were saying, maybe because he was in Hidden Colors, maybe he doesn't want to speak down on it. He's trying to play both sides. But if you ever talk to one of these people, when we have that little troll who likes to come on here and troll us, their responses are so unhinged. They're completely divorced from reality, completely divorced from history. It is such an obvious psychological operation conducted by people who want to keep African people at each other's throats. We have so much love for each other that when you get into the real world, you get up when you log off the internet, we marry each other, we date each other, we have friendships and relationships with one another. My mom's best friend is from Liberia. They've been friends for like 30 years. Okay. So we grew up together. We know people forever. So to me, it's like my best friend in high school was Jamaican. We literally hung out every day, playing video games. We would skip class a couple times. Don't tell my mom. Whatever. But the idea that there's some sort of animosity, we're talking about a small, tiny fraction of like Goku was saying, people from you with outdated information. We got to stop letting people divide us. I'm done.
Jacador, you want to add something here? What say you to this?
Man, this is a conversation that it seems like it never ends. It never ends. It never ends. And I'm like, I'm Gen Z now, and I'm wondering, like, once my generation turns like the 50s and the 60 ages, like, is this conversation still gonna happen? I hope not, because it's like, does it end? But since it's still here, let's go ahead and look at some of the numbers. This is brought to you by blackdemographics.com. And it says that Black median household in the United States accounts, back in 2000, according to 2023, was $54,000. So over a third of Black households earned, and then it said with over a third of Black households earning $75,000 or more, and then 25% had earned $100,000 or more. Again, Black median household, so not average, but just median. Black Americans, it says, that are likely among the highest earning Black populations globally in absolute terms. But this comes with the important caveat that they still face significant income inequality within the U.S. The comparison is complicated by different social systems, cost of living, and the data availability across other countries. So, again, that's brought to you by blackdemographics.com. But it just like what are we doing? I'm surprised that Robin Walker even entertained the conversation going at that angle, just because, like you guys are bringing up, it's such a dated angle. I don't know if he's ever visited the U.S., but if he did, I tell him to come to Omaha. And why? I mean, the Empowerment Network. This is a shameless plug, you know what I'm saying? Why not? But the Empowerment Network, one of the programs that we have here at the Empowerment Network is called the Step Up program. What is the Step Up program? Basically, it connects at-risk and non-at-risk youth with mentors, Black mentors, here in North and South Omaha, but particularly with a large focus on North Omaha. North Omaha being historically Black and still is predominantly Black. But nonetheless, is that I bring that up because the Step Up program has a significant, when I say significant, I think it's, if I saw the numbers in our last meeting, I think the numbers were close to like 7%. Now that might not seem like a lot, but sample size and everything that we're talking about in context is imperative in this. 6 to 7% of those at-risk and non-at-risk youth that were paired up with mentors, Black mentors, were of either Somali or South Sudanese origin. This is a Black empowerment organization that is connecting Black or quote unquote African Americans. I don't want to say quote, but you guys get what I'm saying, is like Black American mentors with sometimes Black immigrant youth or the children of Black immigrants. And I like it just, when you are on the internet, you think that that is real life. You think that what you're seeing is real, and it's not. It's the furthest thing from the truth. Another personal example is my father, well, my stepfather, but he raised me in the United States, and he's South Sudanese. He married an African American woman when we were in middle school, when me and my siblings were in middle school. Bro, and at no point was there any ever confliction on diaspora wars. That didn't even exist. Let me tell you something. The things that I used to like think about was not, oh, who has better rice, jambalaya or jollof? No. I looked at other things. You know, how can I sneak out? You know, after my dad told me not to go to a party. You know, how could I get my mom to give me more money to go to the my stepmom to get me more money to go to the movies, you know, things like that. But it was never like these things that are on the internet. So I'm going to assume that Robin Walker wanted some good to come out of what he stated. I hope that he did. If he didn't, I invite him to, not only just come to the States, but come to Omaha, and you can see, man, African Americans and African immigrants, Black immigrants of the Caribbean working, not just together, working well together. I'd say one of the most visited Black restaurants in Omaha is a Caribbean restaurant. It's called Caribbean Delights. It's ran and managed by a Jamaican man named H. Awesome oxtail, awesome jerk chicken. I can say a lot more, but just like, this is tiring. Just like Juana said in the chat, like this is tiring. And then also, again, if we want to go by the numbers, African Americans are among the largest earning group. But again, there is a caveat, like it's stated at blackdemographics.com about, you know, source of information, availability, social systems. But nonetheless, Robin Walker, if you're listening to this show, hopefully you are. You know, come to Omaha. The Empowerment Network. We got your back. We got the data. I'm talking about.
Was the Jamaican guy named H or H?
His accent might be throwing me off.
You know it's H. You know it's H.
You know H.
You know his accent might be throwing me off, so I don't know. Man.
A Jamaican ain't never said H in his life, man. It's H. It's H.
I say H. I say H.
Yeah. H. With that said, man, I think you guys hit the nail on the head, and I think many of you, if not all, gave some advice, some correction to this stance. You got to update your, you know, one of the things I said was you got to update your info, and a few of you said the same thing. Is there any last thoughts on this topic?
Yes. I want to say this. I love my African American people. My sister-in-law is an African American woman from South Carolina. My cousins all are married. Well, a lot of my cousins marry American people. I have no problem. African. Anthony will tell me call them American African people. They are historical people. They have fought in many wars. They have blood in the soil. When I come to America, I wipe my feet, and I give respect and credit to the people who are pace setters in terms of when I am in America. I don't disrespect African Americans. I tell you one thing though. If I could meet people who I have familiarities with. See, me and Black Steel could hang out. We could talk. We could talk on a certain level. I might not be able to relate to someone who's standing on the corner drinking a 40, doing what he's doing, and I may well, but we just have a different way of looking at the world. But I have no disrespectful regard for African Americans. I tell you one thing though. Let me say this though, and I would only say this, and this is not to try to delineate or whatever. I have my own rich history as well, coming from the people that I come from. Even if I'm in America, I don't want to be invisibilized. I don't want to be invisibilized. I don't want you to forget my history now because I'm in the United States of America. Because I come from a rich heritage as well. So I don't want us to be invisibilized in coming to America. Because I appreciate my culture and heritage too. You know, so I think that as long as there's mutual respect for one another, we could get along famously. And it wouldn't be no issues or no grudge. We could shake hands. If it's business to be done, we could do business with one another. And I know it's always going to be little small isms and schisms, but enough respect to if I come into your country, I have to wipe my feet and respect to all the things that you would have done in allowing or assisting my ability to traverse through through North America. I want to just make that very, very clear. I'll leave it there, Koku.
Appreciate that, one. Let's welcome in Kofi this week. Kofi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Peace to the panel. Peace to you. As always, good subject. I know you want to move on to the next subject. I just gave a listen, so I kind of played it back a little bit, and so I kind of got the gist of what's being discussed. I think the English chap, as my father would say, the English chap here I think he's being very disingenuous. And the reason why I'm saying he's being disingenuous because when you have certain people and they talk, like Black Steel was talking, when you hear FBA, like the average FBA minion, you could tell they're not well read, they're not well educated. This guy seems very well read, very well educated. So he's either maliciously sowing dissent in between us, or he's just completely ignorant. So when he says like, well, the Black Americans that are here that come from Africa and the Caribbean, we have this political mindset. We're taking a right-wing mindset against Black Americans. It's in total reverse. It's in total reverse. Spaces that I'm in, for those you know me, are, I'm dealing with these people all the time. And all the things he used to tell African Americans, they're now telling Africans and Caribbeans. And we always have to go back to when he says, well, these Black Africans and Black Caribbeans coming to America having issues with Black Americans. And I think Black Steel touched on it. If we're talking someone who just got here, like me, I go far back. I was coming in this country on Guyana Airways and Eastern Airlines. So how far back I go, And if you talk about first, second generation, yes, some people, first, second generation, they may not know the culture, and there's a learning curve. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes if you think, well, I'm African or I'm a Caribbean, but I'm not like them in the manner of speaking as far as how I see things, saying you'll get your nigga wake up call very soon. You know what I'm saying? You'll get your nigga wake up call, And so if we're talking like people that's been here for a while, and especially we're talking like second, third generation, like Black Steel says, you're just American. You know what I'm saying? I'm here in the Northeast. I have cousins in Texas and in the South and whatever. And if you say, well, no, their parents was born in the Caribbean, you wouldn't know. You think this is just a regular Black American person. They have a Southern accent, everything they got. They saying all the lingo. They saying that's how people are when they assimilate and adapt to their environment. Same thing, vice versa with Americans. If they're in Jamaica, they're gonna pick up certain mannerisms of certain things. That so it's very, very it's very, very. I'm trying to find the words here. It's very disingenuous, and it's hard, and it is frustrating because we're really paying attention to a very low intellect portion of Black Americans, that these people are saying, well, all Black Americans represent how I think and what we are. So by association, since I'm a Black American, that other Black American over there, we don't have to hear what he has to say because he's American like me. So him and I, by our lineage, quote unquote lineage in history, we will feel the same way about you. Which again, which is not necessarily true. And something that Bwana says that is very true, but FBA use it as deceit. What they do, they use the suffering of African American people from slavery to now. Again, you know, there's people that are obviously Africans and Caribbean people that are that are Americans. But the thing that Bwana says, and they always say this, well, I don't want my culture being drowned out by other people. And I totally get that. But who is attacking your culture? Who is responsible for making sure that your culture lives? So if I'm Guyanese and I go to the Bahamas and I wipe my feet at the door when I go to the Bahamas, like our brother Bwana says, and I'm saying like, okay, you got this conch cuisine that I have. I'm gonna use my own recipe, and I'm gonna say, you know, I'm gonna make me some pulari and some whatever Guyanese dish. If I have to keep that alive. It's not my responsibility to keep Bahamian cuisines and culture alive. It's not Bwana's responsibility to keep Guyanese culture alive. So when people say, well, I don't want my culture being drowned out, not saying, you know, my brother Bwana, but it sounds like a little bit of insecurity on the behest of Black Americans, because remember, they used to be the minority. They're proud that they used to be the number one minority. So it was just white people and Black people. That's it. But since now there's a lot more people on. Remember, America is the world stage. America, people that come here do well, and America's on the world stage. It has nothing to do with well, you're from this country and I'm from that country and you're still here, so you're doing bad. No, it's the opportunity that is here. So everything is magnified by 20, right? But Black Americans have their own culture, so they feel like, okay, now I'm not the number one minority and you have all these other people coming in. I feel personally less significant, even though we know you cannot erase history. There's no one erasing Black history except for white people. So FBA is a very cowardly group. So you got Trump talking about DEI. Black people can't even do business. Your culture is being erased by white people. But you're gonna look at the African and the Caribbean saying they're the reason for my cultural extinction. It's extremely very disingenuous. That's why I'm saying these FBA people are very unintelligent, insecure people. And I pretty much land my plane there.
Good stuff, man. Thanks for joining us, Kofi. I heard you guys on Apocalypse TV the other night there. Good stuff again. Is there any thoughts on... Oh, I'm sorry. Let me welcome in our brother Anthony to the panel tonight. Anthony, how are you this week?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Hey, can y'all hear me good, man?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, hang on for a minute. Let me move the speaker.
Okay. While Anthony does that.
I'm back. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me good? Yeah, okay.
Yes,
yeah, I had to move the speaker. Okay, all right. First of all, man, you know, peace to all the brothers and the sisters out there, you know, all the panelists in the chat. Happy Liberia Day. You know, the day is July 26th, Liberia's Independence Day. So to all the Liberian brothers and sisters out there, happy Liberia Day.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Okay. Yeah, you know, man, this is some shit that I get sick and tired of hearing about all the time. FBA this, FBA that, all this bullshit. But okay, I'll say this here. I'm familiar with Dr. Dr. Walker's work, man. I think Dr. Walker's a brilliant man. You know, he's a brilliant historian, man. You know, I say that I don't think that he's being disingenuous. I think that he might be a little bit misinformed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of the things that he said actually has some validity in it. You know, some of the things he said have validity in it. But you know, when you get to, you know, I'm not gonna ever defend the FBA because I think that's some bullshit. I think that's some bullshit. You know, it's something that I don't even like mentioning that shit. You know, just to mention that shit make my skin crawl, may make me angry. You know, I don't. When people say that, you know, I almost feel like, hey man, don't talk. I'm not no goddamn FBA. You know, don't call me that shit. I don't know. Y'all know how I feel about that. But what I'm saying, what I would like to say is that this is something. You know what? Let me ask Kobe a question. Kobe, you think that I'm just asking you a question now. Don't get upset with it. You think that I used to be the minority. I used to be the number one minority, and now I'm mad at all other black people.
Kofi stepped off of the panel, but if he's listening, okay. So go ahead.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That kind of, you know, that's what I'm saying right there. Okay, number one, Bonner had it right on. Believe it or not, he had it right. It's plantation politics. Okay, my plantation, your plantation. You know, all this old bullshit right here. Whether it's a plantation in Louisiana, this plantation in Georgia, or this plantation in the Bahamas or in the rest of the Caribbean, or wherever else. Now, if you think about it, now I was just looking at I was online this week. They had a sister in South Africa. Hey, talking about, you should have heard the shit she was saying about all the foreigners out of South Africa. And she wasn't talking about the white folks, but she was talking about Nigerians. She was talking about Zambians. She was talking about Zimbabweans. Any other black people from across the country and wherever they come from. She was talking about we need the foreigners out. And she was saying, yes, I'm a xenophobe. Did you see that, Coco?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, yes, I'm a xenophobe. That's what she's saying. Okay, not too long ago, I think a year or two ago, in the Bahamas, you had a situation where you had Haitian brothers and sisters who was coming up. And I seen the video. You had Bahamian brothers and sisters saying similar shit. You know what I'm saying? Get these goddamn Haitians up out of here. With these Haitians, you know, all of these Haitians come in taking our jobs and all this old stuff right here. So what I'm saying is, this is a mindset thing, man, that's been put in us to keep us divided and to hate each other. You know what I'm saying? And to say all kind of shit to each other and do all kind of shit to each other. And I think that one day we gotta cease with this bullshit. And we had to cease on both sides. Okay, yeah, you got the FBA crowd with their little online bullshit and all that, and that's that manufactured shit. But you have too many of us, Pan-Africanists, black nationalists, and all that, who engage in the bullshit too. You know what I'm saying? We do it too, and every time I come up, it's FBA this, or it's this, or it's Continental African this, or this Caribbean this, and all the shit. We got to start doing a better job of it too, man. You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm seeing more and more, I'm seeing us talking about this shit now, us pushing this shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not just a Tariq Nasheed and some old ignorant fools like that. I mean, I'm seeing us do it. I'm seeing people who call themselves Pan-Africanists do it. You know what I'm saying? And black nationalism. You know, I mean, I don't know, man. I just get so sick and tired of this bullshit, man. Saying it all. I mean, we've been doing this for how long now? You know, I mean, we take our eyes off the. I mean, we got one motherfucking goal, and that's the liberation for black people, African people everywhere, in Africa, in the Americas, in the Caribbean, everywhere we at. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have time to be wasting our time on this old stupid ass bullshit. I mean, I understand that it's gonna always be problems. We got shit we got to work out. But man, I just get sick and tired of this shit, man. And no diss to you, Coco, or anybody on the panel or whoever came up with the prompt. But damn, man, when we gonna move past this shit? That's all I'm asking.
Good stuff, Anthony. I'd like to ask a follow-up question based on something Anthony asked, and I'll ask it now before I introduce the newest panelist to the panel. And then this is a serious question. This is a very, very serious question. I would like to hear you guys' thoughts on this. As a national of a country, as an average national of whatever country, you could fill in the blank, is some amount of xenophobia warranted? Because I think we never really discussed that. We never discussed if there's some that's warranted or not, because that could potentially, depending on how you feel on that question, that could potentially change up. I believe it could potentially change up or make the conversation a little bit more nuanced, if you guys understand where I'm coming from. But you guys hold that thought. Let me introduce the next panelist who will speak to the Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. Is Robin Walker accurate in this video? And then after that, you guys could deal with the follow-up question. Brother Bakari, how are you this week?
What's going on, man? Everybody on the panel and everybody in the chat. I'm gonna be honest, I ain't hear what Robin Walker said. I heard Kofi, part of him, then I heard Anthony, and I imagine it's a FBA. It's an FBA topic. But I heard something Anthony said, right? And when Anthony said he's sick of this bullshit, right? This is what I want to say. I don't agree with nothing FBA say, but I can say this. I don't agree with them saying they're gonna boycott African braid shops starting in August. They're gonna then they're gonna boycott Haiti, and they're gonna boycott Bahamas businesses. Then they're gonna boycott Caribbean businesses. But anyway, I don't agree with none of that. But what I can say is, as Pan Africans, I'm not gonna boycott no African for them. Or no, I don't go to a braid shop. I ain't got no hair. But I'm gonna go to African restaurants. I ain't gonna boycott no black people just for the sake of boycotting them and they're from somewhere else. But I'll say this: they are putting that out all over social media. Been asking this question for 2-3 years. How many of y'all still shopping with Arabs and East Indians and Orientals? I don't agree with that nonsense they're saying, but at least they pushing their craziness throughout Twitter, throughout Instagram, throughout YouTube, throughout Facebook. When I say something about how we need to if we want power, our power is in our community. That's where our money belongs. We think of a lot of reasons why we shouldn't boycott. We think of how it's convenient to go to the Arab. We have arguments saying, well, why do you want to be racist? Treat people with. So I don't agree with that. But a lot of Pan Africans has just gotten to the point where they think the revolution is on social media. They don't have to do nothing because we can talk all the damn talk we want. And if you steady giving your money to somebody else, you won't organize your dollars. So you can't organize yourself as a people. So we can't take care of our communities. And now we look at this foolishness that's constantly gaining ground in our community amongst our people. Yeah, that dude who started the FBA, I don't even like to say his name, that's too much respect. Yeah, he got them for $2 million for that fake museum he got. But damn, they put $2 million together for a fake museum. If I say boycott the Arab, we think of excuses of why we need to go to the store. So as a Pan-African, a pro-black Pan-African with a revolutionary mindset, we're gonna have to start looking in the mirror and say, what are we gonna do? What are we preparing for? What are we trying to do? Do we want our communities or not? Or do we just want to sit on social media and talk? They will get together. They will say they're gonna have a meet and greet. The people that call themselves ADOS went to damn Louisville, Kentucky a couple years ago, however many it was, to go there and listen to that woman and that other guy who with him who started that. They went out to meet the FBA, but we can't organize. Let's meet and greet, because we like to talk about the things that we can't do. Because I'm not trying to attack black people, I'm attacking everybody else. And we like to say what we can't do when it comes to other people, but we have all the venom, all the beef, and everything in the world for one another. So we're gonna have to change our approach if we want to do something. And just that like I say, you got to hit the streets. I know Black Steel say he ain't seen none of them. Let Black Steel come to Atlanta for just come hang out in Atlanta for about 3-4 days. Watch how many of these people you meet. They're gonna tell you they FBA, they ADOS, they Aboriginal Indigenous. Just come to Atlanta for 3-4 days, and you'll see them. The whole of black conversation with folks here, all the damn time. We don't hit the streets and do the things we're supposed to do. We're not even trying to boycott and organize a boycott of the Arabs. They want to organize they want to say they're gonna organize their boycott of the Essence Festival because of the African woman who was the CEO and had nothing to do with the Essence Festival this year. But they ain't gonna say nothing about the white people that was there. And in all honesty, I think we're all stuck for the majority of Pan Africans, and I think we're stuck in this. We're stuck just like them because we like to fight them. But when I mention other people, there's reasons why we still deal with them. Don't care how bad an Arab treat black people, it's convenient because they're right up the street. Or they have this and they have that. So we are, in essence, if we look at what we're doing for the most part, we're doing the same thing. On that, I'll yield the mic and I'm gonna step down for I'm gonna listen. Then I'm gonna step off in a few minutes because I was trying to listen offline because I was doing something, but I just had to come up and say that.
No problem, man. I appreciate you coming through. Make sure you guys subscribe to Brother Bakari's channel, BBN Network. In the chat, TriggerHobby262 Plus says, yes, we need xenophobia. He's speaking to my follow-up question. But to people who wronged us, if we are to be xenophobic to someone black, it's someone who aligned with those who wronged us. There should be free movement between black people. I'm fine with a Melanesian or Aboriginal Australian immigrating to Africa. The Europeans or Arabs is a no. Keep Africa as black as possible. Lastly, he says, some situations in Africa. Same situation in Africa. Some people will complain about other black people, but let the Lebanese and Chinese slide. This is why I'm never convinced that we are naturally nice to others. LOL. With that said, does anyone want to tackle the follow-up question? You can go in any order.
Yes, I do. I want to answer. First of all, let me answer Anthony's statements on the Bahamas. Let me talk about the Bahamas. Because sometimes people see something and they may not understand things within the context of how it was stated. And it seems similar, but it may not necessarily be that way. Okay? And I can explain that. There are people in the Bahamas who express very xenophobic views. There are people who are Afrophobic in the Bahamas. That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. But the other truth is the majority of the people who live in this country are not xenophobic. They have things for their own confirmation biases, for their own reasons. The Bahamas is 500, one of the wealthiest Caribbean countries. We, at the base of the country, you have Haiti, which is 11 million people. If 10% of the Haitians was to come to the Bahamas looking for resources and help, they would subsume the Bahamas. It's within their best interest to protect their borders to ensure that that doesn't happen, first of all. Second of all, when you're in a climate when there's limited resources, people fear if people come from undocumented people come from different countries, They fear that, hey, I have to share my food, and maybe I may not have enough at the end of the day to feed my children. That is a legitimate fear when you're dealing with a ratio of 10 to 1. 10 to 1. That's a legitimate fear for some people. So sometimes when you listen to street people talking, they talk into their fears. And their xenophobia is based on sometimes their fears, not necessarily the truth. The truth is Haitian people, undocumented people who have come here, they have found shelter, they have found housing, we provide them electricity, all manner of different resources that we provide them, the Haitian community, with the limited resources we had. With the limited resources we have, we've always been sharing with the Haitian people. In fact, the people talk about the people who are xenophobic. They ain't say, well, I meet personally, when you're running programs to inform people about their immigration rights as immigrants to the country, even if you undocumented, these things ain't discussed over the internet because these are the things that people don't see or dialogue about. They don't see these kinds of things. They only see or hear confirmation bias and say, well, oh, they xenophobic over there. But they ain't say, but what we've been doing traditionally for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. People don't see that kind of aid. And we don't even have a talk of reciprocity. You give, but you get nothing in return. Some people are fed up by that. Anyone would be. In America, it's a different scenario. It's a different scenario. Because when you don't hold the controls of government, that's a different scenario going on. That's a different scenario going on. But like I say, are there xenophobic people? Absolutely. But I decide, me personally, I would like to focus on the people who are not necessarily xenophobic. Because these are the people who are the movers and shakers, who actually can get things done. Who actually gonna get things done. They ain't gonna just talk on the internet. And as Brother Bakari is always say, when boots on the ground, people don't necessarily see that all the time. They don't see these things all the time. And many people who doing things, they don't have time to come on the internet and say, well, this is what I do for today for these particular groups of people. These things are not seen or even discussed because sometimes we like to talk at the base, bottom level of certain things. Start from there. They don't want to talk about the people who are actually doing things. They just want to talk about the people who complaining about doing things. Typical street people who ain't know nothing about nothing. But needless to say, Black people are, I believe that Black people are going to eventually get it together. And unfortunately, there is a deficit with history. There's a deficit in how we know about each other and how we can learn things about each other. But I think that deficit could be corrected with shows like this. These kinds of the things need to be dialogue, and we need to discuss stuff from time to time, not always, because it is tiring. But these things need to be made clear if they are unclear. But I'll leave it there, Coco, because I'll leave it.
Anybody else want to respond to the follow-up?
So I'm gonna say the question is xenophobia sometimes necessary? Xenophobia, what you call something a phobia, right? Phobia means a fear, irrational fear or hatred, right? So given our history, given the history of African people, it's not a phobia. It's nothing irrational about it, right? If you read, especially one of my favorite books, The Destruction of Black Civilization, right? He gives a case study of several African civilizations that were destroyed by outsiders, right? So I would think that it would be intelligent of us to be weary because we live in an anti-Black world. And truth be told, many Black people are anti-Black. Many Black people are against other Black people. So I think it would be wise of us, not phobia, but intelligent, to be suspicious of those coming from outside of our group with the intention of causing us harm. Now, I will say that when it comes with dealing with Black people, people of African descent, you want to be, I believe that you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? But don't get it twisted. Don't put ourselves in a position where we can be hurt, taken advantage of. But I think we need to have grace for other Black people. That's one thing. Other cultures, especially Those coming from the caves of the Caucasus Mountains, nah, they've done too much damage. Nah. But other than that, I believe there can be some grace. Arabs, keep your eye on them. There's nothing wrong with extending yourself, but given our history, it's better to be safe than sorry. So I don't think it's a phobia, right? I think that, excuse me, I think that's intelligent. I think it's wise to keep your eye on certain individuals. But with other African people, I always said we're going to extend a little grace to them.
You know, Baxil, I appreciate you defining xenophobia. I mean, I'm aware of that definition, of course, but when I asked the question, now that I look back at it, I used the wrong word based on that strict definition that you gave. But I meant it in a little bit. I meant it more in the way that you kind of corrected it to me. In that sense, should we be watchful? I guess is a better term than to say xenophobia. But should we be watchful, etc.? And wanna kind of tackle that when you talked about talk about your borders, showing up your borders and things of that nature. Should you be watchful? Does anyone else want to comment? All right. Very good conversation there. And I know the FBA ADOS conversation is tiring. I was going to say could be tiring, but it is tiring. I get it. If you notice, I try to kind of stay away from those topics even here. But sometimes when you see it hit the knowledgeable, or when you hear the knowledgeable speaking about it and speaking kind of in favor of it, of this divisiveness, I think it's something to take stock of. This portion of the show could be clipped out and tied to Robin Walker, and hopefully he'll see it if he's on this platform. And it could lead to maybe a better or updated conversation, a look into on his part, etc. So I think it was necessary to have the conversation. I think in certain instances, it's kind of necessary to have the conversation sometimes. With that said, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, did your parents warn you about marrying outside of your race? This comes with a link that takes us back to YouTube. Looks like a YouTube short. We'll watch and we'll discuss. If it's short, I might play it twice.
Uncle, hey, that's you? Yeah. Wow, I heard you got married. Yeah. So who's the lucky one? She's right here. What's up, Aunt? This one? Yeah. So what happened to your cousin Fatimata? I decided to marry her. I'm not in love with her. So you decided to marry this thing. Excuse me? Yeah, excuse. Back to you. So what did your parents say about it? I mean, what could they say about it? Of course. Mean? I thought they loved. Out of all these beautiful African women, you decided to marry this. What do you even see in her? What do you see in me? I mean, I like her. Yeah, yes. We in love. You are in love. Did I ask you? BBC World Service. What you talking about? What that mean? What? Do he not like me because I'm white skin? No, it's because you are purple. And you stay with her. You will see what will happen when she finishes with you. Uncle. Hey, that's you? Yeah. Wow, I heard you got married. Yeah. So who's the lucky one? She's right here. What's up, Aunt? This one? Yeah. So what happened to your cousin Fatimata? I decided to marry her. I'm not in love with her. So you decided to marry this thing. Excuse me? Yeah, excuse. Back to you. So what did your parents say about it? I mean, what could they say about it? Of course. Mean? I thought they loved. Out of all these beautiful African women, you decided to marry this. What do you even see in her? What do you see in me? I mean, I like her. Yeah, yes. We in love. You are in love. Did I ask you? BBC World Service. What you talking about? What that mean? What? Do he not like me because I'm white skin? No, it's because you are purple. And you stay with her. You will see what will happen when she finishes with you.
What is that tether wearing right here in this video? He's tethers. In any event, should be topic number 3. Did your parents warn you about marrying outside of your race? I thought Brother Bakari Is Brother Bakari still here? I thought you stepped down.
Yeah, I'm still here. I was gonna step down after this. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, since you're gonna step down after, let's start with you. Did your parents warn you about marrying outside your race? What are your thoughts?
Hell yeah. Now the only reason it was not just a warning. Don't bring them to my damn house. You know how some people use the phrase if they can't use your cone, don't bring them home. Or they say my folks will tell me. Now my folks just straight say if they ain't black, don't bring. If she ain't black, she ain't welcome in my house. I told you that I was messing with my mama because my friends thought I was playing when I was stationed in Korea. I called mama and I was like, "Mama, I just met this. I got a baby on the way with this Korean lady, so we gonna go ahead and get married." And I was just clowning, and my mama was like, "Well, you know, when your time up, you come home. But leave that Korean woman and that Korean baby over in Korea. They ain't coming to my house." So yeah, hell yeah, I was hell yeah, I was told if they ain't black. If they ain't black, don't bring them here. And I was also taught not to speak negative about black women, and that's probably why I was taught that from the time that I was little, because black women have gone through so much in this country. So that's, but yes, I yield the mic.
Appreciate that, Brother Bakari. Thanks for joining us tonight. Brother Anthony, what say you to this?
Yeah, it was understood though, Coco. It was understood. It was pretty much like Bakari, like what Bakari said. It was pretty much understood because like the thing with like what our elders, like in my family, all you know, they it was always that if you mess with a white girl, you know, it's going back to, hey, you can get lynched. You know, because like my great grandmama and them, my grandmama, they grew up at a time where they were still lynching Negroes. You know what I'm saying? They were lynching brothers. And so it was always a thing with them and my family, like, don't mess with that white girl. Or don't mess, you know, because you can get killed. You can get in trouble behind them. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom, for example, like she didn't come out and say, don't mess with a white girl, but she would always just say, you know, tell me like, you know, son, you got to make good choices, you know, when you're dealing with females. And like, and I mean, I didn't fool with no white girls. You know, I just wasn't attracted to them. I mean, even before consciousness, black women is all I knew. And like, you know, I just always wanted a woman that was kind of like my mama. You know what I'm saying? You know, because all the love I got from my mom, you know, I mean, I want somebody who will give me the same kind of love. You know what I'm saying? But you know, in a wifely way, in a girlfriend way. So yeah, you know, it was just understood, man. You know, it didn't have to be. They didn't have to say, "Don't mess with a white girl," or "Don't get an interracial." But I don't think anybody in my family that I ever known has ever messed with white folks. No, on an interracial level. I've never heard. They may have, but I never heard of. But it was just understood, man. You know, the folks in trouble. You know, stay away from them. I'll leave it right there.
Appreciate that, Brother Anthony. Wardrum in the chat said the warning was issued around 12 or 13. Earlier, he said, whoa, Vicky, yeah, no. He should have known better with some laughing emojis. KW Don 7 said something interesting. He said, parents in the Canadian diaspora do not warn their children about miscegenation and then complain about it after the fact. That's interesting. I think that's a common thing. We kind of let things play out and then want to get back after it plays out. Trigabi said the uncle was smart. Wardrum also says, Trigabi also says, this question is always interesting because I feel like it fluctuates either between different regions of the black world, and some argue it changes based on gender. Lastly, he says Latin America, they probably tell them to marry white, but the United States, they have a different message because of race dynamics. With that said, let me hear from Jackadero. What say you, Jackadero?
Yeah, the question is, did I get warned? So I'm a Kenyan, but my dad never got to the States. But my stepfather, who's from South Sudan, he raised me, and he's a Muslim. So I was raised Muslim. And what's really interesting is that he always just told me to just find a Muslim woman. But the masjids that we would, I'm only laughing because I never thought about it like this, but the masjids that we used to attend, there was never any white people in the mosque. So I never had to worry about that. There was the occasional Arabs, but there were never any, it was just Somalis, a few Kenyans, Nigerians for sure. Give me a moment to think. A lot of Somalis, Ethiopians, a few South Sudanese, a few Sudanese proper from Khartoum. But yeah, nah, never any white people. So I never had to worry about the whole white girl thing, man. Now, if I were to think what he would do if I brought home an Arab, I don't know. I don't know if he would accept it, and I don't know if he would deny it. A little interesting story about him is that before he met my mom in Kenya, he said that his journey, actually, his trajectory took him on a different path. If he's listening, I know he's gonna laugh, but his journey, he said that when he was attending regular prayers, so there's Jamia Mosque in Nairobi, for those that ever venture out in Nairobi. It's the biggest masjid in Nairobi anyways. And at the time, there was an Arab scholar for Islam, and the Arab scholar asked him, like, hey, I see you in the masjid here, like, pretty much every day. Like, you know, what's your plans? You know, like, do you plan on becoming an imam here at this masjid? And my stepfather's reaction was, no, I actually plan to go to Saudi Arabia and become a scholar, just like you. And my stepfather said that this Arab reply was crazy, but it was, if I can remember right, something along the lines of like, yeah, no, you'll never be a scholar in Saudi Arabia like me. And it changed his whole trajectory. And he was like, yeah, I was done pretty much on my planning to go to Saudi Arabia and live the rest of my life there after that. And then he met my mom, and, you know, the rest is history. So I don't know if he would have been okay, because I'm sure by now, like, he probably has a bad taste in his mouth about Arabs. But yeah, the masjid that I attended, it only had black people, man, and specifically black immigrants. There were a few African Americans, but man, it was majority Somali, Ethiopian, and then Nigerians.
I'm liking these stepfather stories too, by the way. So keep those coming. Juana, what's for you to this? Juana, your mic is muted if you're talking. Maybe Juana's having technical issues. Blackfield Village.
Coco, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. My folks is more like religious minded. I'm curious for Jacadero. I never met no women at the masjid. At the masjid, the women and men are completely separated. How you meet women at the masjid? I'm confused about that. But for me, my parents was kind of like, they was religious. They was Christian minded, so I always saw white women as tourists from a young person. I always thought that they was very separate and distinct, because I always see them as tourists. You know, they kind of like wasn't within my community. My community, I was probably more expected to marry a person from my community, a black Bahamian woman or whatever. So it never really came in my mind that I would have that issue to deal with. You know, never ever. And I never looked at, I always thought that white women was party women, always into partying and drinking rum and going jet skiing. So I never really took them serious like that. So, but my parents never told me or encouraged me to specifically marry black women. It's never been an issue before. But I would say this, you know, there are, I just think that they never really encouraged me to do anything specific. But more than likely, and when I say likely, more among to it, 90%, that I would have married someone from my community, someone who looked just like I was just what it was. So that's never been an issue for me, ever.
Let me
I
let me
think before Jacadera goes, I think there's an interesting thing that you're kind of realizing with the conversation. Side note, I'm like Buana, it never was discussed because, and I think this is the point I'm getting at. It never was discussed, and I also saw white women like that too. It's kind of lousy, kind of like, you know, they might look okay for a couple of years when they're young, when they partying hard and all that type of thing, but you don't want to be around an old white bitch at all. But I think the conversation is kind of showing that if you're in black circumstances or all black circumstances, you'll probably marry white. So that makes the American African situation an interesting one, especially as more and more time goes by, especially with the propaganda that goes on here and them being propagandized more and more, it seems, as the years go by. But this conversation is kind of showing it. Jacadero was in a mosque with mostly black folks. I feel Jacadero was wearing a hijab when he went to the mosque. He was hanging out with all the girls on the other side. Right?
So how to answer Buana's question about like how did you know, because the masjids are pretty they're gender separated, so the guys pray in one room and women pray in the other. So how would you see them? Well, I wouldn't see them, but how it goes for marriage is that usually you say like either you say, hey, there's this girl at my school, do you know her dad, do you know her uncle, or your dad would come along and be like, hey, do you think it's time yet? Because I'm tired of having you at the house. Like, is there anybody that you're remotely interested in? And then you would say, well, do you have any of your friends? And then, your dad would usually ask you those things because he would also be like, hey, I know somebody that has a daughter. I know somebody that has a niece. I know somebody that has female. But most of his friends, if not all of his friends, were either from Africa or the likes thereof. So, and because
Jacadero, do y'all practice arranged marriages in from your tradition? Do y'all practice that?
So it's really interesting because that if it was up to my stepdad, I'd have been married back when I was like 19, because of the fact that, again, his friends from the masjids were also guys that, because he ran a car dealership, so his friends for the masjids were also either his clientele or guys that he did business with. So if he ran the car lot, then somebody else would have the dealer's license to go and get the cars from the auction. So it'd make financial sense. So if it was up to him, I think I would have been married when I was 20, because I remember some of these questions, and looking back on it, he was trying to gauge my thought process on like, hey, am I ready? Because he's like, hey, I got guys that I believe they want their daughters to be married, because again, I'm just stating this from the East African perspective. We know in East Africa, especially in Kenya, very well that the younger that the woman gets married with a young guy, of course, around her age mate, the less likely that she grows up and becomes a whore. Let me just put it plainly out there. They like to make this soft. They have to have a soft landing, but I just say it plain and loudly, because in especially in Nairobi, there is a prostitution problem. And it's been like that for a long time. I'm sure you guys are going to...
Damn. Damn.
Let's just put it out there.
Hold on, Jacadero, because I have to be careful. Because the Muslims describe a prostitute as different from the Western, how the Westerner look at a prostitute. So let me be careful. So when you say prostitute, do you mean a liberal-minded woman who sleeps with any man she wants to at a certain age because she's educated and she's sophisticated? Because some Muslims believe that's a prostitute. But or do you mean specifically in terms of means, this is how I make my income and things like that? What kind of define prostitute from your tradition?
In Kenya, in Kenya, when I went back in 2012 and I stayed for nearly a year, the way that it was described and the way that I experienced visually, with the way that my family members would talk about other women family members, is that one that leaves the father's house and that is unwed after a certain age. So like they would say like somebody that's like above 25, they left the father's house, now they're living on their own and they're not married and they don't seem to want to get married. They would label that person. They wouldn't call them, the word is malaya in Swahili, meaning bitch, but it's really just prostitute. Like you would call a prostitute a bitch, a malaya in Swahili. And so that's the way that I viewed it. So I'm going to say that in East African Islamic viewpoint, it's just a woman that leaves her father's house after a certain age and that has no plans on getting married. Whether that's she's doing these things for financial gain or not, it is because she doesn't want to get married. She has no plans on getting married. She wants to be a lifeist. She's pretty much just living that sexy red.
Basically, a Western Korean-oriented woman is a prostitute. Basically.
Damn, y'all boys are strict. Jeez. Strict.
Also,
that's not being strict. That's just straight up misogyny. That's all that is. Because they don't see the men the other way. Well, you know what? We gotta wed these guys because you don't want these guys being male whores. It's always the woman. It's always the woman.
Now keep in mind, Kofi, this is good that you said that yeah, it can come off misogynistic, and I don't disagree with you about that. But keep in mind is that what you have is an issue in Kenya. Let's just put that plainly. There is an issue. What is the issue? Is that there's a lot of fatherless children in Nairobi. I want to like put this. I don't know if I can drill this anymore home. There is a huge issue in the Kikuyu community, that I'm very familiar with. I'm not a part of, but I'm very familiar with. Is that among all the tribes in Kenya, they have the highest rated number of children born out of wedlock and single motherhood. And usually in central Kenya, they are the ones that are amongst, youth prostitution. When I say youth, this is people, women under 30. This is not the youth term that you're used to in the United States. So I say that there's a problem. Now, am I going to say that Islam is the end all be all? I'm not a practicing Muslim anymore. So just to point that out to you, I ascribe to a new spiritual system. But nonetheless, I do want to state that I do believe that, and I do strongly accept that, some of the core tenets of Islam, it can almost, shape a culture and have it to be right. So I get it. It's strict, but we're in the United States. And I know that, there's the whole progressive thing is there, just like it is in Kenya. But look what's happening in Kenya. They estimate that by 2050 in Kenya, are you ready for this? By 2050 in Kenya, 3 out of 4 homes will be presided where there will be a mother, but no father. Just want to let you know that by 2050, 3 out of 4. That's insane. And so you got to ask yourself, if not Islam, then what else?
Hey, Koku.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, I was trying to wait till the brother got through. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me start it off with this right here. Jagadero, peace and blessings to you, my brother.
Peace and blessings.
I'm saying, okay, yeah, it's not a diss on you. I'm just saying, when you hear something like a poll, like in 2050, it's gonna be this, man, don't go over that bullshit. Don't go over that. In 2050, okay, you know what I can say? In 2050, any kind of old wild crazy ass shit, in 2050, the Bahamas is gonna be under the water. You know what I'm saying? There will be no Bahamas. We don't know that. Well, they talk about rising tides and the oceans and stuff, but we don't know that. I mean, we projecting way in the 40, and that's the shit that somebody else said. Okay, when you say in 2050 about so many children will be born out of wedlock or whatever, you know what? They telling you, there's somebody telling you what's gonna happen as if you don't have no hand in making this shit not happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't listen to no shit like, hey, you know what, man? I don't know what the fuck gonna happen tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Hell, I might not be in this mother. I might not be around tomorrow. I don't know that. So, you know, I can't look in the future talking about what in 2050 what this gonna be. Like we had some months ago, we had a thing like what would Pan-Africanism or Africa or whatever be 500 years. I can't think that far in the future, man, or what it's gonna be then. You know what I'm saying? I mean, cause to me, that's like I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't give a damn what it's gonna be. I ain't concerned with what it's gonna be. If I got to talk about in 2050 or in 500 years from now, you know what I'm saying? We need to be on our job right now, making this shit not happen. You know what I'm saying? So if they didn't already gave you the headlines that in 2050 it's gonna be like this in Kenya with these children, we need to start working right now to make this shit not happen. Okay? We need to do the work. We need to get all our jobs. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing was, man, you know what? We went from interracial relationship all the way down to Barna and talk about was a prostitute. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, I mean, come on, man. We got to get. Look, man. This is all I'm saying, man. Okay. Sometimes we got to get out of some of these ways of thinking. You know, it's not only just the Western ways of thinking, but it's also the Eastern ways of thinking, like the Arabs, for example, with Islam and their impact. I seen a brother on IG today talking about Islam. You know, he's a brother. I don't know what country he was from in Africa, but he was on there. Cool. I'm quite sure you might have seen it. But he was just talking about how great Islam and the black contribution to Islam and stuff. You know, talking about how it was a black African woman who founded Mecca and all of those. You know, I mean, you know, this Arabic way of thinking. That's what it is. Some people that think they Muslims or think they follow Islam, but you really is following this Arabism. You know what I'm saying? You follow Arabism. And I think that a lot of time, I'm going by the stuff that Jacadero was saying, you know, because I know there is an Arabic Muslim presence, identity in much of East Africa, not all East Africa, but in a lot of East Africa. And I think that sometimes we look at these, like Jacadero said, oh, no Islam. I mean, like I said, how I talk about the brothers, like still them, you know, embracing the Western 19th century liberalism. We also do that same shit with Arabism, with Islam. You know, embracing religion, you also embrace the Arab culture. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we don't know it. And so, you know, and we begin to think like they think, and thinking outside of ourselves, man. Okay. And the last thing I just wanted to say real quick, I don't know if the brothers, y'all remember, I'm going to show, we were talking about the prompt was about interracial marriage and did your parents warn you? Cool. I don't know if you, because I think you may have seen it. It was this brother. We're going to Belize, in the country, Central American country, Belize. It was this brother, and he was like a police official, like one of the top police officials in the Belize. This brother. Okay, now you know how I'm related to what Juana was talking about, the tourism. How these white women come down to the Caribbean and go to Africa, particularly in the Gambia, you know, a place, but other places too, all over the country. These white women come down here, and you know what? They look at us a weekend boyfriend. You know, some brothers who they can come and have fun with. You know, kick it with it, then, you know, do their thing and go back to wherever they came from. Okay, now in Belize, this brother was a constable. He was a police officer. And he was well known, well respected throughout the country of Belize. This white woman who was married woman, married to some old white guy who was from money, so she wouldn't trailer trash. No, she was married and they was in the money. She came down here. It was like last year or something. It was on one of those 48 hours. Okay, well anyway, they became friends. She was going through shit with her husband. They became friends, and one day they went out on the beach in the evening time. They're sitting out there on the beach, chilling. For some reason, he bought his gun. He was a police officer, so he had his gun. And he was showing her how to use the gun. And we know what happened. The gun ended up going out firing accidentally and killing his black ass. You know what I'm saying? It was a whole big case down there. His family had been telling him about leave that girl alone, don't mess with her. Number one, she's married. Number two, she's a white woman. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I think we don't listen to that shit. You know what I'm saying? We think what our little head instead of our big head. You know what I'm saying? And we just think about the flesh. We think about we think about what we think about first. You know what I'm saying? And it caused this brother life. It was a big national thing. Oh, Coco, do you remember the show? Well, Coco lost right now.
Sorry, I'm muted. I'm muted. No, I'm
Yeah,
not familiar.
it was on 48 Hours, man. On the show 48 Hours on CBS, where this black brother, who was a policeman, and was a well-known, popular person in Belize, the country, Central American country, Belize. And he ended up getting killed by his white female friend. You know what I'm saying? Who was married to a rich man. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, she went trailer chair. She came for money. You know, his family was telling him to leave this woman alone. You know that she's married and she's a white woman, and and she come for money and all that stuff. And he ended up getting his ass killed. Getting his ass knocked out, and she ended up going free off of it. I think they locked her up at first, but she cried white woman tears and got out scot-free. But yeah, man, that's I'm just like, some things that we have to know. Like sometimes we have to use the history and things, man. Look, yeah. I ain't gonna go on too long about it, man. But yeah, I just think that you have to always be aware of the historical things, because all that factors in when you get in a relationship with somebody. And I'll land right there.
Yeah, I do think we have to be aware. I think often as human beings, especially young humans, we need to be directed too. And I think that we shouldn't take it for granted. We shouldn't take this kind of information, this kind of instruction for granted. Because that's essentially but let me speak for myself. That's essentially what happened when I was growing up. It was the idea you would be with a black woman from around here, a Bahamian, right? But the folks who were around me who should have been giving me that direction, not just me, everyone else who was around me should have been given that direction of, hey, don't you, like Bakari says, you can't use your comb, don't bring her home. You know what I mean? But we kind of take that stuff for granted. In the chat real quick, Trigger 262 Plus says, African spirituality also is against the wedlock issue too. A strong community is only good when it's strict and regulated, in my opinion, but also smart enough to adapt. He says, so some would say there could be a misogyny issue that can be adapted and changed. But wedlock issue should be aggressively countered. Marriage relations need to be clear and strict. Well, I know Kofi heard misogyny and what Jacadero described. Kofi, what say you to the conversation?
Very good conversation, and it seems like the common denominator is when you're coming from these black nations, it's not a conversation because basically, they're not around. So they're well, I have to warn you about something that's not there. It's like if I'm in and no one's warned, it's kind of weird, But with me, my family, again, it's similar. They never warned me about interracial dating or anything like that. It's weird, I mean, me being from Guyana, there's the only type of intermingling would be like and with that we know there's a taboo thing, but back to the white people thing. I mean, I have a large family. The only people that really dated outside of the race, like I have an uncle all he did was bring white women home. So the first time he did it, we like, okay. Second time he did it, everybody's talking like, what's going on with him? Then the next time he brought a Japanese woman home, he's like, all right, you don't like black people, you don't like black women, and everyone's talking about you, and they get sensitive. You know what I'm saying? But he's here now. He's not in Ghana. He's here now. You know what I'm saying? So it's a weird space where you have to adjust and adapt. And we all have family. Well, I don't know anybody, but I'll say if you have a large family member here, even if you're from Africa or the Caribbean, someone is getting a little bit more mayonnaise than what they're supposed to. So my mother moved to Florida and Port St. Lucie and Fort Pierce. Remember, all he likes is
very well, brother. Very well.
yeah, and it's a mixed bag over there. And I'm telling my close family member of mine, where he's younger, we telling him you need to stay away, from these white people because this is the South. You don't know. It's a mixed neighborhood. You don't know what type of white people we're going with. To the point where the person knew, like, we know how I'm not racist, but you get enough white people, you're gonna get somebody that's racist. So when it comes to me, I don't advocate interracial dating or especially marriage. I don't do that with black people because it's a mess. So it's so bad down there. There was like, hey, look, someone told him, stay away from these white women. They may like you, but they have family that's not gonna like your black ass. So they told a story one time. They had this girl was seeing this black kid, right? She asked the black kid to come over. Yeah, come over to my house. You can relax. You can do this, that, whatever, because no one's gonna be home. Her father wasn't home. Her father came early one day. She was somewhere else in the house. He came in, saw a black guy in the living room, just shot and killed him. Because why? He thought he was an intruder. No way my daughter's with any niggers. You see what I'm trying to say? So this is something that we have to be aware of. We have to be aware of, and we have to be very careful. It's a life or death type of thing when it comes to us. I'll give you another family member now, and I'll end it right here. Again, interracial dating, have kids, whatever, all of that, right? The female, white female, lovely, not racist, all of that. But she has racist family members to the point where my biracial little family member cannot go over to grandma's house because granddad is racist. It's like, why are we putting ourselves in these situations? And I'm not something of the person say love is love. Bullshit. There's no fucking such thing as love is love. You make a cognitive choice to deal with people on a certain basis before you even fall in love with them. You have to deal with them, socialize with them. So if your mindset is like, oh, it's no big deal if I, be with this white person and we have kids, everything's gonna be hunky dory. No, it's not. It's not. You know what I'm saying? It's too many beautiful black women out here for me to even fathom being with another person that make my life more difficult. My children, like why? Why do I want that headache? I got too much love for myself and for my people. But that's just me, and I land my plane right there.
I like when I speak into the Americans, because the Americans, not even call it Americans, the Africans in America have a different kind of perspective, because they would never see. Koku knows that in a black country like this, you would have Bahamian people who would sound like white nationalists if you date him. So you have differences where it sounds like the person is a white nationalist. So the conversation, and I don't mean to throw this wrench in the whole conversation because we're talking about race, but even in the black race, you have ethnic issues that I'm sure that Jack Cadero in his own, with his clan or whatever, I don't know what clan tribe he's from, If he was to come home, I think he's a luau. So as a luau, if he was to come home with a person from another group of black people, from another ethnic group, then you will hear people who sound like the white nationalists. They have the same kinds of ideas in their head. So I'm saying, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about specifically here? We talking about, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Make it plain. Make it plain for me.
And I'm a proud Luo, by the way, as well.
Well, let's
money.
Let's go to Black Steel, who usually makes it plain. Black Steel would say you to the prompt and to the conversation around it so far.
So yeah, I came from that family where leaving white girls alone, right? That was something I was told as a young child. So backstory: my mother's brother, my mother's eldest sibling was her brother. He died before I was born. He was actually murdered. He had a thing. He was in the Navy, U.S. United States Navy, and he had a thing dealing with white women. And he brought a white girl to the house, and you know, that was a bit of a scandal from what they were telling us, because my grandmother was born in 1923. So during Jim Crow she was a grown woman with kids by the time Jim Crow, married with children by the time Jim Crow was over, right? Uh, so anyways, my uncle, he went up to, I believe it was New Jersey or one of those states, and he was murdered. Um, they had my eldest aunt, my mom's oldest sister, had to go back and retrieve his body. The white woman that he went up to up north with the white woman, and he was killed. He was like 26 or something like that. He was a very young man. But anyways, it was always told, hey, you be leading white girls, and white girls is trouble, and white girls is a problem. So that was always drilled into my head. Even when I was in high school, I had this white girl I used to be friends with. We rode the bus together. So I had to go to the orthodontist. I had braces. My mom came and picked me up from school, and she seen me sitting on I was at lunch and outside the cafeteria eating lunch with my friend. My mom came. She saw me sitting down with this white girl at the lunch table. She didn't say a word. She didn't smile. She said, "Let's go." Right? I'm like, "Hey, mom, you gonna meet my friend? Hi, how you doing? Let's go. You're gonna be late." And my mom was like, "That's your girlfriend?" I said, "No, this is my friend who ride the bus." Mm-hmm. Okay. I better be just your friend. You got any black girls you friends with? So I got the third degree. And she was nice. I mean, she was blonde, blue eyed. She was look like, white girl. But we was cool. We like to talk about video games and stuff. My mom was none of that. I don't care. She was not playing that. So as I got older, um, I never dated, was in a relationship or dated with a white woman. But when I was married, my ex-wife, her mother was white and her father was black. That was too much for my mom. That was almost too much for her. Just dealing with a woman, even though she said she was a black woman. She grew up black. She was treated like a black woman. That was almost too much. Then the next girl I was in a relationship with, she was Dominican. Even though she was an Afro-Dominican, Afro-Latina, she was still, my mom, oh, my son like these exotic women. She told her friend. But overall, it was always told to me at a young age, the white girl's not for you. Leave them alone. And it could probably be due to our history, to the dealing with the lynchings and assaults by white supremacists, white racists, just being too close to a white woman. As I've gotten older, I told my son, I want black grandchildren. You know, you want to have your little dalliances or whatever. I just want black grandchildren. Children, you know, I don't want any confused tragic mulattoes in my family. I don't want nobody talking about some, well, I was too white for the blacks and too black for the white. Shut the fuck up. No, you black. All right. Everybody in my family is black. My cousin, he has a son with a young lady who is biracial, white mother, black father. Um, he spends a lot of time with his white family. He does. I fear my little cousin gonna find him, gonna have him a wake up call one day. I really do. I mean, he goes to rodeo. He's 7 years old. He goes to rodeos, and he doesn't get it yet. I'm afraid what's gonna happen when he get it that day. So what Sugar Happy said, my mom wanted me to be with a black woman, as in there's no confusion as to what is she. So she's as a black woman, and I'm the same way. I want my grandchildren to be black. You know, my son, whoever my son dates, you know, just make sure when you want to settle down, you settle down with a sister who can give me children who look like me. I don't want in 100 years my great grandchildren look at the wall and be like, who is that? Who is that black person on the wall? No, 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 no. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. But anyways, though, to answer the question, yeah, mom, that was something that was always taught to me, was to leave the white girls alone. I don't have my sister. Um, she's never looked at a white man ever in her life. She would tell you she's never looked at anybody of Caucasian descent. And it's so funny because you know we were talking once, and my sister and a friend of mine were talking, we was hanging out, we talking about movies, and somebody said some white actor looked good, said he was white chocolate. My sister turned around and said, "Ain't no such thing as white chocolate." She made it be no, that's just not happening. So, but yeah, that was something I was told. Leave them alone. I understand the reasons for that too, and even now, I'm hesitant. Number one, I tend not to find white women attractive. Now, first of all, they can be very nice. I got a cousin. All he do is play in the snow. If it ain't snowing, he ain't going. All right, that's his thing. And I see the young lady. She's nice. She cool, whatever. But for me personally, she got to be black. She got to be black. Now she could be black, and she can be from the continent or from the islands or South America. But she has to be rooted within she has to be an African. Her ancestors got to get on the slave. Maybe the slave ship dropped her ancestors off a little bit sooner, or maybe she was on the continent. But she does have to be a woman of African descent, and that's how I was taught, and it's worked pretty well so far. So I'm done. Thanks.
Yeah, clearly you can see the difference. Your surroundings really, really play a part. But it also reminds me, like I said earlier, that you can't perform negligence just because you're. In fact, the fact that you're in a so-called black nation, the idea that you would have to look at it that way and define it that way, we should really be teaching our youths that it's unacceptable to bring home a white spouse. It's completely unacceptable because. So so just to reiterate, even though you might be in Jamaica or Antigua, the Bahamas, or Haiti, and every day you look around and you see black, 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 understand why that's necessary, why that happened, and so you should also, by extension, be teaching your children to be wary of these people and to avoid them. You know what I mean? And get with other black people. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt by anyone? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. All I was gonna say was one thing. The tail end off of what Black Steel say. If you want to see the continuance of these beautiful black people that we have, whether they black people in this country or black people in the Caribbean or in Central and South America, Africa. If you want to see them continue, then you got to marry. You got to believe in black man and black woman marriages.
Yes, sir. All right, let's go to should be topic number 4 now. This is probably going to be the last topic for the night. Let me see. The last topic planned was a good one, but it was another kind of FBA topic. So I'll save that for the first topic next week. We're going to end maybe a little after 11, but we'll try to make this the last program for the night. Shooter Breeze topic number 4 says, can we ever stop blaming the black man? As I go to the attachment that this came with, let me just say thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight. Thanks to everyone who's hit the like button. I hope you hit the like button. I hope you shared. I hope you subscribed, not just here, but on all the efforts on KWAZ Radio. Make sure to subscribe to Brother Bakari, who was up here tonight, Kofi as well, and any other folks who was here who are streamers themselves. Should we stop number 4? Can we ever stop blaming the black man? This came with this tweet from God's favorite that says, like, what are we talking about? Let me make sure it's not a thread. It might be a thread. Guys, whenever you post a tweet like this, make sure you let me know it's a thread in brackets so I can look out for the thread. So God's favorite says, like, what are we talking about? So let's play it, and then I'll play the attachment.
You look happier. Thanks. I stopped dating black men. Let's talk about it. And I've written down some of the comments that I saw underneath the post. No one hates us more than black men. So the white men that lynched us, raped us, ate us, put in literacy tests so that we couldn't vote, etc., they somehow hate us less than black men do. I know you don't even believe that yourself. Black men don't think about settling down until they have 38 baby mamas. If I closed my eyes and didn't look at the profile picture of that person who made that comment, I would assume it was a white dude. Honestly, I feel the same way, and I'm a Latina. White guys are just better. And now y'all got fucking women of other races joining in on this shit too. Where's my white king? I'm tired of being in the trenches. I avoid dating black men because I don't want to be on welfare. What's wrong with black men? Everything. Y'all sound like skinheads. Y'all sound like neo-Nazi, Aryan, fucking KKK members. If you have preferences, okay, whatever. Like, if you want to date white guys, that's fine. You don't have to sound like a Ku Klux Klan member while you're doing it. Like, you really don't have to. It's just so sad because a lot of this really comes down to self-hatred and how a lot of black people have trauma that they really haven't unpacked. And for whatever reason, they think that the solution to this is to date white people. I'm sorry, that's really fucking stupid. People can suck equally. There's black men that are great. There's black men that suck. There's white men that are great. There's white men that suck. I don't think that's rocket science. I don't think generalizing any group of people is fair. I don't care how bitter you are. I don't think it's fair to generalize all black men just because you've had multiple bad experiences. I don't think that's fair. I kind of just think of it like this. We don't like it when white people generalize us as a whole. So, like, why would we do that to each other? It's just really disheartening. Like, every time I see one of those posts, I consistently click not interested, but I don't know what type of algorithm that these social media apps are trying to create where, like, they're pushing that content. But it's just so disheartening seeing, like, posts about, like, black men and black women hating each other. I don't want to see that. It sucks because this is such a long conversation. I can make this video like 30 minutes. But yeah, y'all sound weird. Like, y'all sound like white hoods. Like, And I think it's even more sad because there was people in the comments saying like, "Hey, you really shouldn't say this about black men," or like, "Oh well, I love black men," and y'all are calling them pick-me's. I suppose it's giving CIA agenda. Like, y'all, it's really weird. Like, can we stop talking like this, please?
So this seems to be a thread. Let me play the other part. It seems like a thread. Let me play the other part. Oh, never mind. That's taking me somewhere else. So it seems like
You
it's
look
only this one.
happier. Thanks. I stopped betting black.
So this is an interesting one. I want to start with Anthony first. Anthony, you think that this could be white folks pretending to be black sometimes, right?
Absolutely, man. It's a lot of it be on a whole lot of topics. It be white folks acting like pretending to be black. They got this is one real pop. We uncovered one of them. The one that had this site called When We Was Kings. Y'all ever heard of that? Matter of fact, not When We Was Kings, When We Was Kangs. No, Kangs.
Yeah, white.
K-A-N. Yeah. Yeah, it's a white dude. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's a lot of, hey, Koku, today, yesterday, last couple of days, whenever you get time, because I know you're busy, you had a lot of stuff to do, man, check your site, man, on IG. I sent you about 3 or 4 with these sisters talking about how much they love black men. You know what I'm saying? And talking about how black men always getting picked, the bullshit that she was just talking about. Always the blame and all that stuff. I sent you about several of them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I make them all the time, man, showing how black women how so many black women support brothers. You know what I'm saying? But it seemed like we focus as a whole, we focus too much on the negative shit. We got a sister talking about dissing black men. You know what I'm saying? When that ain't even the case. I mean, we got to realize, look, we smart, intelligent people. We smart, intelligent brothers and sisters on there. Don't you know, in war, it's all kind of shit. It's all kind of ways that the enemy fights you in war. One of the main things is to attack your family. You know, okay, let's divide the black man and the black woman. Let's destroy the black family. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't just do it here in America. They did it everywhere. They did it in Brazil. You know what I'm saying? They did it everywhere where we represent a threat to them. And we represent a threat everywhere. So now, you know, you got sites on, I seen the site where there was this sister in Uganda. Well, you know, this sister, Jonita Maya. And she's on O'Shea Duke Jackson. You know, regardless of what you think about O'Shea, you know he's an idiot. But I'm saying she had a topic about interracial relationships and stuff, and she had a topic about like the hate against black men, even in Uganda. You know what I'm saying? That should you marry a white man and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, I think we do too much. It's important. Okay, it's important to talk about issues. I get it. It's important to discuss issues. But I think sometimes, stuff like this, I think we discussing some shit that these people put out there for us to be discussing it, you know, to keep us divided, I think. Because you know what? I do not in no way think that the majority or not even a large percentage of black women feel like, no, that anti-black man thing. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. You know, they have, you know, you be hearing them like she was saying how they had black men haters and all. I mean, for real. But no, man, I just think that we need to tune out a lot of the bullshit, man. And like I said, it really is basically about us getting to work. It's about us getting to work and doing it. We got to put the counter shit out. You know what I'm saying, Coco? We need to have in the future, whatever, we need to have some shows talking about black men and women loving each other. You know what I'm saying? If we got to invite more sisters on and brothers and have relationship talk shows. I mean, different things, you know what I'm saying, to show that we do love each other. Because I know we do. Hey, the revolutionary matron, she ain't one of them women. She love us. You know what I'm saying? Cassandra, she love us. Cheryl Izzy, she love us. Lero, she love us. You know what I'm saying? And I think that let's highlight them more than highlight the other men. And I like this. That was a good prompt though, man. I like what the sister was saying and everything. She made a lot of great points. I ain't gonna go on too far along, man. It was a great prompt, but I just think we need to highlight the positive a little bit more.
I appreciate that, Anthony. And by the way, I for a long time now wanted to have a relationship, like a serious relationship program. Well, one of the things that disappointed me was there's a page on Instagram. I think it's Pan African Lifestyle, and they were one of the first people I saw doing. No. I was thinking it was the balloon challenge, but no, they were doing stuff like rating a woman's ass, and it was like, dog, it's a Pan African lifestyle show. Let's have some serious. I mean, we could have fun sometimes. Don't get me wrong.
Hey,
Let's have a
Koku.
serious.
But Koku, was it them or was it just they was highlighting somebody else on the show?
It seemed like it was a program they were doing where black men were rating the shape of these black women. And listen, I can sit down and talk about and admire the shape of a black woman all day. But I think when we put things, titles like Pan African Lifestyle and things of that nature on it, I think we should bring a little bit of seriousness to it as well. I think we can incorporate some of that stuff, but we could talk in a respectful and serious manner and give the young boys something and young girls something to look forward to, something to live up to in the future. But that's just my thinking. Cheryl Easy heard you mention a name. She said, "Dang, I missed Shooter Breeze topic number 3. Sorry you missed it there, but there's always the playback and there's always the Shooter Breeze clips channel as well to catch up on various clips without having to watch the entire show in one sitting." I think Anthony mentioned Jamila Naidu, and she was on the screen here. She said, so you tell them, whenever they say we are Kangs to kind of clown African people, you tell them, she says, they are Vikings. That's the return this. With that said, let me go to Black Steel on this one. Black Steel would say.
Very interesting prompt. This is something that the idea is that you're happy if you don't date black men, right? That black men come with a lot of baggage. I often say that white men have the greatest PR in history. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is able to get away with the shit that white males are able to. We are literally watching in real time the president of the United States being shown as a pedophile. Okay, all the stuff that women complain about, especially in the U.S., about women's rights and the right to bodily autonomy and things like that. These things are being driven mainly by white men, but yet black men are the ones that are causing them to be unhappy. White men went all over the world for centuries, raping, pillaging, killing. They're creating whole new ethnic groups via rape. But yet, it's black men are the ones out here abandoning their kids and not being on welfare. What? It's amazing how the European has constructed reality, has mastered propaganda in such a way that none of their crimes, none of their evil is even considered when it comes to their sexual marketplace value. It is insane to me how we're having these conversations in 2025. White men are literally destroying the life sustaining capacity of the earth. And you have people online saying, you know what? Let me get me a white man. He gonna treat me better. I mean, have we not remembered the stories of these sisters? The one black girl who was dismembered. She went on a date with a white man, an old, dirty-looking white man on top of it, and he killed this child and cut her up in pieces and threw her body parts, scattered them all across the city they were in. They still haven't found this young lady's body. Her mother is destroyed by this. I think we put, and speaking just in this particular instance, when you put a race of people on a pedestal, right? She's absolutely right. What she said is that, you know, any race can be bad. It's coming from a place of self-hatred, right? This is the anti-blackness that is constant in our society. And when you have internalized it, right, it reflects itself even in different ways. How you view your skin, how you view your relationship with other black people, and who you choose to date. I know a young person, right? Black mother, white father, right? I don't know if his mom was on the rest of stuff or not, but I do know this white father could give less than a fuck about his half black son, right? Doesn't see him, doesn't talk to him, refuse to pay child support. He'd rather go to jail than pay the child support. He's everything that these women say a deadbeat black dad would be. This is this man, right? Just it's to the point the young man was needed to be hospitalized because he was suicidal after everything. You think his father called to check on him? You think his father came down, son, you okay? No, not at all. Not at all. So I think that this idea that somehow the white man is superior, that the white man can unlock a level of comfort, right? A lot of these young women, they want a certain lifestyle, right? They want the soft life, quote unquote, the soft life, right? The soft life entails them not doing anything at all, just living a life of luxury, traveling and looking beautiful and just doing what they want to do when they want to do it. And they believe that they can get to this soft life by dating outside their race. Um, no, no. That's not the reality. And you can ask white women how it is. You can ask these white women that date these rich white men and ask them their quality of life. But it doesn't matter because in their mind, the whiteness is more important than anything. The whiteness unlocks a life, an idea. How do we? The question I would say is, how do we counteract this? First of all, like Anthony was saying, I don't believe it's a lot of sisters out here saying that. They may be online. They're very loud. They're very vocal, but I don't think there's a lot of them who think like that. But I think that what we can do is, highlight the images of positive black couples. But some people are too far gone. You're gonna have to let them go. Let the dead bury the dead. That's it. I got all I got to say. Thanks.
No, I appreciate that. That was good stuff. Jacadero, what say you?
Yeah, this is I saw this clip as well. I was when I first saw the clip, she was reading off, it looked like either tweets or comments, and I thought she was going to be one of the divestors, right? If that's the word? So I almost clicked off of it until she, had our back, and that was awesome to see. I do want to say this because clearly, I mean, if you're listening to this show, like, you're in the right audience, or you're among your brothers and sisters. If you're not, if you're a woman that still wants to be on the ledge and be on the fence about dating out, just ask yourself this. Because I think the conversation is, if it's white or black men. Okay, well, if it's white men, if you're on the fence about this as a black woman right now, just ask yourself this. If white men are so good, how come the best of them, the Musks, the Bill Gates, and the Jeff Bezos, how come their relationships have failed? Just ask yourself that. Like if their best haven't been able to do it, what makes you think that you'll be able to do it? And then we all know the answer to that. They're dysfunctional by nature, but nonetheless, it's like, they're great at their fields of careers, but yet they can't make it. They can't get their women to say, hey, whatever your frustration is, come on, look at the bigger picture. We're building Fortune 500 companies here. But awesome that this lady had our back. Just like I said with the diaspora wars prompt, or the prompt that related to the diaspora wars, if you just never get off of the internet, you probably think that like all of this is true. Get off the internet and come to the Empowerment Network, where we another shameless plug, where we don't do this. Black women and black men working together every single day. That's it.
Appreciate that, Jackadaro. In the chat, Trigger Happy 262 says, an interracial propagandist, in my opinion, should suffer consequences. If you're dating out, you have to disconnect yourself from black people, in my opinion. I don't disagree with that at all. In fact, I think one of the problems is we don't get them up from around us. We allow them to come back. Just like a bunch of degenerates in the black community. We allow them to run amok, do a pack of shit, and turn 45 or something, 50, and then come right back around us again. And we especially allow that with black folks who, men and women, who date out racially. We let them come back and get right back with a black person. That we should stop that. With that said, I think I got everyone on that one, right?
No, you didn't get two.
Oh, sorry, Buana, go ahead.
That's all right. Two things. What Anthony said is true. He said that you should focus on the people who care and love and support you. Just focus on these women, and you'll be okay. You'll be okay. The other thing is the brother said, how do we counteract it? Why would we want to counteract it when the president of the United States is doing such a good job? Right now, the president of the United States, along with his cohorts, all the people who could provide these black women with soft lives, as Black Steve was saying, they was going to Pedo Island. What's better is they have money, have at it. If that's your proof of what's better is having and marrying men who goes to Pedo Island to do what they do with your young daughters, because that's what they're going to do, because they, whatever. It's fine. If that's what you want to have happen to you, unfortunately, you're going from one trauma to the next trauma. But I say, I don't need to counteract it. I'm sitting back watching the fireworks as they go off. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, they used to accuse us to being the biggest baby daddies who don't check for their children, whatever. The biggest baby daddy guy in the world right now is Elon Musk. How much children you have, but how much different women right now? It's turning on itself. I'm relaxing. I'm chilling. Because all the aspersions that they used to cast against us, I'm watching it in real time right now. Your president of the United States, your ultimate man used to go to Pedo Island to mess with those girls. What do you have to say for that? You want to live that kind of soft girl life? You want to live that soft girl Melania life? Have at it, sister. Have at it. That's all I needed to say, Coco.
Sorry about that. One, I didn't mean to skip you there, so I hope you didn't cut your response short. Because of it, I didn't mean to skip you at all there. But Juana said some stuff there. Does anyone on the panel want to add or critique or have any last words on this prompt?
Yeah. Hey man, hey, Buana. Let me talk to Buana. Buana, you still there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Hey, look at I got what you said, man. I respect that. What I'm saying is this right here. It just goes again. I know that we talked in the past, like a couple of weeks ago, whatever. It still ain't sunk in 100%. Not 100%. I mean, a lot. But this is what I'm saying. This is what you got to. This is what I need you to understand, boy. President Trump. I live in America. I was born here. I'm a citizen. Yeah, all that crap there. Mr. Trump is not my president. I don't have a president. Black people don't have no president. Even these coons that run it up with MAGA hats and all this shit here, he ain't got no goddamn president. No, that man is the president of America. America is a white settler state. It's a European settler state. White folks should come first. Okay, now, in the aftermath, the scraps and whatever that's left over from America, the so-called democracy, whatever, okay, a little bit of this shit rubs off on us. There is, out of the 46 to 50 million, or however many million black people in this country, ain't none of us represented in this country. I don't give a damn how many people you see in the Congressional Black Caucus or none of that shit. Those Negroes do not have any power. Mostly those Negroes are gatekeepers. Okay, they might be gatekeepers for the Democratic Party or gatekeepers for the Republican Party. But they basically in it for them damn self what they can get, you know, and how they can stop the masses of grassroots black people getting together, you know, and throwing their ass out and fight for some real shit. Okay, so like I'm saying, I don't have no motherfucking country. And I'm not cursing at you, I'm just saying, I don't have, black people, we don't have no goddamn country. Yeah, we citizens, legally citizens, they gave us that. But we don't have no damn country. President Trump is not my president. Barack Obama was not my president. He was selected to to take care of white folks' business. We ain't never had no goddamn president. Biden, nobody. Nobody has ever been our president. We always been on our own as black people in this country. And even our brothers and sisters that come from the Caribbean, whatever, when they get here, they don't know it. Some of them don't know it, but they on their own too. So what I'm saying, quit talking about this shit about we are our president and all this other shit is. Look at white folks. Look at white folks is gonna be white folks. They're gonna do what white people do. That's what they've been doing forever. They've been pedophiles going all over the world doing that shit to everybody, and they're doing it here. Well, I'm just saying that ain't got shit to do with us, man. With black, when you look at it.
But Anthony, can I ask you a question? Though? Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, bro.
Okay. So I understand where you're coming from with that, right? But when I say what I'm saying, I'm referring to this lady in this particular form, right? She feels she has a black president, brother. And you can't, respectfully, you can't say you speak for 45 million black people. You're speaking for Anthony McFarland. That's the only thing I wanted to say. That's it. What do you have to say that, if I was to say that?
Okay, I got that, brother. And this is how I'm gonna answer that. When 45 million black people have a black president, you know what? We're gonna have our own country. We're gonna be the president of Afro-America or New Africa, whatever we're gonna call it. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be in control of resources and natural and mineral wealth and all that shit. That's when we got a country. Other than that, we just some plantation Negroes. You know what I'm saying? And we fighting each other and fighting other black people over the scraps.
Okay, I hear that. But I also had conversations with people, with black people who do consider themselves as black American. Anthony, you want me to not address them? Like,
Okay. I'm gonna show you this here. Check it out, Buona. Check this out. At one time, before colonialism, before Bahamas got independence, before Jamaica got independence, before all the other Caribbean nations, the black Caribbean nations got independence, guess what? And I mean, after slavery, after the 1838, after the 1830s, when slavery was formally abolished in the Caribbean, among black nations, they had a period of time between 1838 until the 1960s and 70s when the majority of our people became independent in the Caribbean. Guess what black people in the Caribbean call themselves? Black British.
You used to be called officially. You used to call subjects to the British Crown. Subjects.
Yeah, that's
subjects. Right.
Yeah, subject to the British Crown. But look here, but also citizens. Because guess what? In each of our countries, remember the Commonwealth, they had a black brother or a sister who was what? The Governor General, and was guess what? A knight of the empire.
Sure, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
No, you're absolutely
so
right.
I'm saying, what I'm saying is, our people there are just like some of our people here, like our people here in general, except that they are citizens of the empire. You know what I'm saying? They accepted it stuff.
But Anthony, as far as if you was to leave the United States of America, right? And let's say you was to go to Africa, right? You going on a United States document that says that you are a citizen of the United States. So why shouldn't I address you as such? No, you explain to me why. I'm
gonna do it now. Okay, Barney, you know what? I can't help it that I had no choice in where the slave ship dropped me off at. Okay? I was on a slave ship. Koku was on a slave ship. You was on a slave ship. Barney was on, Bakari was on one. Kobe, all of us was on a slave ship. And they dropped us off at different places. Okay, now I'm here in this place. I done raised a family. No, I'm trying to exist. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do what I can do to make sure my people survive. I can't hear what they call me legally. They call me that legally on they shit. Remember, that's in they terms. See, when I go abroad in Africa and I have a passport, that ain't none of my passport. Because see, my passport would say a global African, but their passport said a U.S. citizen. I can't do nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? But I can do something about the way I think and the way I feel.
And you know what? I take that when I speak into you specifically, or when I speak in having a conversation. I am very careful to label you as African American. Well, you say don't even call you American at all. So I have to go to specificities. But I also
okay. Hold on. Barney, let me say this here. Look up. This is what I'm saying. You say how you have to carefully do this here. But guess what, Barney? I don't have to carefully call you an African. You're an African brother from the Bahamas. No, Koku is African brother from the Bahamas. I don't have no problem with that, but you said like you saying it like it's the problem. Like I have to be careful.
Because I'm Anthony. I'm knowing that your perspective and point of view. Every black person in America don't have the kind of view. You would take that if I was to call you American, you would be offended by that. But many people who was born in America, who grew up in America, black people, would not be offended by that. And I'm not trying to offend you specifically. So this is the reason why I have to address you the way I address you.
Yeah, but Buono, what I'm trying to tell you is that you got to remember, these people have been kidnapped and held hostage, and their mind been tricked. So you know what? Even though they might say I'm a this or I'm a that, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just like somebody say I'm a black British, I'm a black French. You know, when both of them countries is doing all kind of bullshit to the African countries of their origin. Okay, we got mental Stockholm syndrome. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You know, you got mental Stockholm syndrome. So you got to look at it like this here. We've been kidnapped, taken out of our cultural incubator, and given the mind of somebody else. Given the mind of not a wise African or black person, but we got the mind of a Negro, of a stupid slave plantation Negro. That's what you got to realize. You got to realize what Marcus Garvey realized. Marcus said, these are my people, these are Africans. These are my people. He didn't look at it and say, oh, these American Negroes or these whatever. You know what I'm saying? You got to look at you. If we going to be real Garveyites and believe in the teachings of Marcus Garvey, we got to put it in action, bro. We got to really believe it, and we got to believe it in our heart. I don't went on long enough, man. I'm going to bag up.
We having a good build, though, Anthony. We having a good build. If Koku don't mind, I'll continue. If Koku don't mind, I'll continue. Because it have to be addressed.
Go ahead. Marlon, you got to make up your mind whether you're a real Garveyite, bro.
No, but listen, hear me out, though, Anthony. Hear me out, because I want you to know why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. As an American African person, that is not a vanilla envelope kind of discussion. When I say American African person, that is historical. That is historical. There are things you would have done in the United States of America in terms of fighting wars, with the Indians, the white man, doing all Jim Crow, all kind of things, right? That is unique to your experience as an African person within America, right? It's not my will to erase that and pretend as if that don't exist. Just as me being from the Bahamas, my awareness is Lyndon Pinland and fighting against the British to be independent, and what it took a group of men to do to create that narrative. I've never experienced having what my mother would have went through. We were so-called free Africans after 1973. My experience on this planet is very unique and different. You know what I mean? So the person on my $100 bill, right? I have seen him physically walking around in the Bahamas. That's a reality. It's not like where Andrew Jackson is on specific bills and things like that.
Okay.
So I am
Okay,
not
fine.
let me finish. I don't want to invisibilize my experience on this planet either. I want those things to be recognized. Not saying that both of us are not black brothers, but our experiences are unique to us. But it's not to say that we can't embrace one another. That's what I want to make clear.
Okay, Boiler, in closing, last thing. We talk about, okay, you just talked about the wars we fought in or whatever. Okay, war against the indigenous people, the Native American. I don't like using Native American. They didn't call themselves that. But against the indigenous people. Okay, in other wars, fighting in Europe, in America's wars. Okay, you already know that those brothers and sisters was fighting to try to prove they nationalism and all that shit. You know, it was wrong. In my opinion, the way I think, it was bullshit. But I know they was fighting to try to prove themselves as being Americans in a country that was so vehemently anti-black, where the same soldiers got lynched in their uniforms. Okay, that's cool to bring up there. But this is what I'm saying. Why you can always bring up that, my brother Warner? Why you can't bring up Colonel Ty? Or have you read of him? Colonel Ty, who was a black man born in Virginia, and who fought when the British said, look here, if you Negroes fight for us, we'll give you freedom. You know what I'm saying? Now, Colonel Todd knows, hey, I was a slave under the British. But you know what? But he went out and he raised some brothers, a bunch of enslaved Africans, and they got together. They was known as the Ethiopian Unit, sometimes known as the Black Troops, the Black Brigade. And they fought the Americans. Colonel Todd, he's a real person. You can look him up. And he was a thorn in the side of the American patriots. He harassed them. George Washington, they had huge bounties out to kill this Negro because he was capturing they army officers, burning their supply stuff, and all kind of shit, causing all kind of havoc. He was one of the original commandos in modern warfare. He caused all kind of bullshit among the American patriots. They had a big bounty on him. And when he died, he got killed because he got shot by a bullet. He got shot, and he got gangrene and died from it. But up to then, he had a bounty on his head that was larger than anybody ever. Because guess what? He was going around knocking off George Washington's people. You know what I'm saying? The Ethiopian Brigade, the Black Brigade. If you want to talk about the Black African brothers and sisters who fought against America, we always talk about the ones who fought on the side of America. I say we got that tradition too. See, that's the tradition I come from.
Okay.
Hey man, I'm through with it, man. I'm not gonna let somebody else talk.
Okay, so I am right now I'm reading a book called Florida Through Black Eyes by a person named Dr. Marvin Dunn. Dr. Marvin Dunn talks about how black people in America fought with the Spanish against the Americans. They fought with the British. They fought with left and right. Some went to the. I am aware that, listen, when we have these guys, if I were to address all historical things, I think that we missing each other. What's happening to each other? When I say African in America, I say historically, because their history ties them with many different things. Their experiences are unique to the Americas, as opposed to the experiences to Caribbean people who are unique to the Caribbean. Things happen here as well. You know what I mean? And I don't want to invisibilize you and your experience just for having saying we black and that's it. Because there's something that comes along with that. It's not saying that you me and you ain't brothers. It's saying that our experiences are unique to us. My brother's in South Carolina right now. I am in the Bahamas. His experience is unique to South Carolina right now with his South Carolina wife. I am in the Bahamas with a different experience. Don't mean we ain't brothers. Don't mean we ain't brothers. It's just that his experiences is different from mine, even though we have the same blood running through our veins. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not trying to belittle the experience by saying, well, okay, the Americans, the blacks in America only fought alongside the American government. Of course, I know they fought with the Spanish. They fought with the British against the American government. Many of them left to go to Canada, to go to Mexico, to go to the Caribbean, to go to Liberia. I'm knowing these things. But to have that kind of dialogue is going to extend beyond the boundaries of even the show. I'm not trying to talk down on the African American experience at all, and I don't want that to be missed. And I want to be very clear about that. But I'll leave it there for Koku them to continue the dialogue.
No, well, that was the last topic for the night. Like I said, Anthony, you wanted to add one last word here?
Yeah, Coco. I'll just say one thing. I want to remind Buana of what the Honorable Marcus Garvey, a Caribbean brother, an African brother from the Caribbean, and my greatest hero said, I will never give up a continent for an island. So he was saying, in other words, I don't claim, because somebody asking, are you Jamaican or you African? I'm African. You know what? I never give up a continent for a piece of land, 3.2 million square miles called America. I'm not no American, I'm an African. I'm an African first over everything. And Buana, don't you give up Africa for the Bahamas.
All right, guys, let's do our shout outs for this week, man. Shout out something positive or something impactful that you witnessed or experienced during the week. Since we did the last Shoot the Breeze episode chat, you guys can post your shout outs. I'm sure Trey Ari will probably get many of your shout outs, but post whatever shout outs you want to post. I'm going to start with Black Steel. Wasn't spoken in a while. Black Steel, what's your shout out for the week?
Rest in peace to Malcolm Jamal Warner, man. That was a hard death. That was very sad. Young man drowned like that. He was only 54. You know, he drowned. Him and his daughter went towards sea on vacation before a swim. He drowned. Respect. You gotta respect nature, man. And the thing about it is, I guess he was caught in a really strong current. It doesn't matter how good you can swim. Once that current gets a hold of you, it's very hard to break free. But rest in peace to him. Fuck Hulk Hogan, racist piece of trash that he was. Disrespected African people. He was hateful in his actions and his words. And it's so funny. His family was online saying, "Now is not the time to talk about him being racist." Well, you know what? When you live a hateful life, that's what happens, right? When you do things to oh, it's hot down here, brother. Anyways, when you live a hateful life, man, people are gonna remember you as that. Don't live your life in such a way that people make fun of you when you die. That's all I can say about that. But yeah, great show, everybody.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Yeah, Malcolm Jamal Warner and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan in particular was going to be my shout out. Yeah, Malcolm Jamal Warner. I know I try not to deal with the celebrity thing too much, but he was. I felt he was kind of on the side. No, kind of. I feel he was on the side of positivity and positive black images in media. And I think he would have been a kind of guy who would have fit into like these conversations. That's just my belief. But rest in peace to him. Rest in peace to Hulk Hogan. With that, let me hear from Jack Adara. What's your shout out this week, brother?
I don't know how you got that image of a Hulk Hogan in hell. That's pretty awesome.
That's right.
That's pretty awesome. I don't know if you have a GoPro or in hell, but good job. My shout out, number one, Liberia is Independence Day. I'm in Nebraska, but I have family in Minnesota, and they had their first ever Liberian Independence Parade in Minnesota. Pretty awesome, man. Pretty awesome. So shout out to Liberia, the oldest African republic. I know that Ethiopia wants to contest to that, but according to whatever metrics that the AU has, they have Liberia before Ethiopia. I won't debate with people. I'm not here for that. I'm not Liberian. I'm not Ethiopian. So I just take to whatever the African Union says. And then second, of course, I've been shouting it out all night. The Empowerment Network, man. Come on. I'm here in Omaha, Nebraska. We do great things. We connect people. And of course, we have the data. So whatever it is that you need, we have the data. We're your favorite consultant's favorite consultants. That's the best way that I could put it here at the Empowerment Network, the largest and best organization here in the Midwest, with sister cities and reaching across Tulsa, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Ohio, Kansas City, Missouri, Houston, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and everything outside and in between. Reach on out to us. That's the Empowerment Network at www.empoweromaha.com, the official website of the Empowerment Network.
Yes, indeed, Jack. I appreciate you being here, and thanks for hosting 3 weeks ago. So appreciate that as well. Last but not least, Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, something power, because Jacadero is going to continue to go on and on about it. That's so inside. But shout out to my little bro Jacadero and doing his thing, man. He's consistent, if anything. And shout out to Malcolm Jamal Warner. You know, we honor his life and legacy and what he was America's little brother. Was Black America's little brother for a very long period of time, and I was saddened to hear that he passed in a tragic way that he did. You know, but shout out to his life, man. Shout out to his life, and to Hulk Hogan. You know, I hope that Satan body slam him in hell. You know, what I have to say. He didn't like Black people. I don't like him. So it is what it is. But shout out to Malcolm Jamal Warner and his efforts in showing the world how to do what he did, you know, while he was alive. I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Buana. Let me hear from Anthony. Anthony, what would you like to shout out?
Yeah, first of all, man, shout out to all the brothers on the panel, man. The brothers and sisters in the chat too, man. Shout out to you, Buana. I love you, Buana. You my brother. You my brother forever. But shout out to Malcolm Jamal Warner. Because he was a great brother. Shout out to our brother Daddy Lumby, man. You know, who was the great Ghanaian singer, man. He died. I think it's today or maybe yesterday. Daddy Lumby. You know, the great. He was one of the greatest Ghanaian high life singers, man, ever. You know, he just died. And so, you know, man, shout out to him too, and to all his family and everybody, man. It just just big respect and love and peace to everybody on the panel, man. You, especially you, Koku. Man, my mom really, I showed her your response, man. She really liked that, man. Peace, though.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, shout out to all the parents who might be going through some difficult times as well, as they are, you know, older folks and stuff, but we champion them to push on through, man. So shout out to all of you guys who are here, your moms, your dads. Shout out to all of you in the chat. Trigger Happy, said that's like losing our Michael Jackson. Speaking of the Ghanaian musician who Anthony just mentioned. KW Don 7 said Malcolm Jamal Warner never wore a dress or did buffoonery roles. Yeah, that's what I appreciate. Brother Bakari says shout out to Black Business, to the panel, the chat, and all the shout outs. I will shout out in the future. I appreciate all the shout outs. Make sure you guys are tuned into everyone who has a program around here, and encourage those who don't have a program to create a program themselves. I'd like to support some of you guys who joined the panel and stuff like that. With that said, we should be back next week. Either I or Jack Adero will host, and we plan to have the same type of great conversation that we tend to have here. So join us again next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.